Welcome to the Foxborough Board of Selectmen meeting for September 3rd, 2013. Tonight's agenda is 7 o'clock citizens input, 7:05 chairman's update, 7:15 building committee, town hall building will be in with us to discuss that. 7:45 we'll be discussing the town hall again about possibly moving personnel from downstairs to this area here. 8 p.m. Board of Selectmen new town manager discussion. 8:15 Selectmen's comments on the Foxborough Post Office closing. 8:20 Board of Selectmen merit pay acceptance. 8:25 Board of Selectmen discussion on new town manager goals and objectives. 8:40 special town meeting warrant. 8:50 executive session with attorney John Davis, Douglas Lewison, pending litigation, Weldon Dutton, to conduct strategic session on preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or conduct collective bargaining sessions on contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Deputy Chief John Chandler. Review of executive session minutes and union negotiations with fire, Boyden, and the highway. And that's it. Jim, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody here for citizens input tonight? Paul, please come to the mic and for the record.
For the record, my name's Paul DeFazio, live at Richard Street. I'm also the this year's chairman for the advisory committee. I understand later on this evening, and unfortunately, I apologize, I won't be able to stay for your vote or your decision-making on the special town meeting. My understanding, though, is that you're looking at an October special town meeting, which essentially that means weeks away. The AdCom, I just want everybody to take into consideration before the vote, the advisory committee hasn't even met yet to begin this fall season. We're meeting next Wednesday. Generally, the first couple of meetings are to get the new folks acquainted. We have Randy Scollins come in, give us some finance. We're going to have Bob Cutler come in, talk about the roles, responsibilities of AdCom. We're going to talk about open meeting. We really want to get this year together and off on a good start so that we can give deliberate and thoughtful consideration to all the warrants. And right now, from my understanding, there's quite a few on the docket, and it's growing from what I can tell. So my concern is if we do this in October, we will be rushing it, and the AdCom will not be able to give you and the town our best research and time and our best recommendations for these articles coming forward. So what I would ask you folks to consider, I'm not saying we have to always go back to a December town meeting, but third week, we have a late Thanksgiving this year. It's the fourth week of November. If we could push this, if it's possible, if this October date isn't costing the town something, if there's a reason for this October date that I'm not aware of, I'll learn tonight, but we would ask that you schedule it for maybe the second, third week in November. And I think that would give the advisory committee ample time to take on a lot of these important issues and render the right recommendation for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else for citizens input? Seeing none? Okay. Building committee want to come forward?
Guys. Ladies.
Okay. Do you have everybody's name for the record?
Bill, Randy, any of the other three.
Okay, I saw you writing it down.
Steve's phone.
Not on the
Michael Leary. Okay, Bill, there's been a lot of discussion
Gary Whitehouse.
with your committee, Board of Selectmen, and the last couple of years about town hall. So can you bring us up to date on what your committee's thinking right now?
Yeah, and because of the actions that your committee has been taking recently, we met a few weeks ago and brought up the subject again. The discussion within our board was basically, did we want to go back and revisit for any reason the decision that we had previously made on our recommendation. And after a discussion, the board basically held pat with what its original concept was, that we still believe that the best money that the town spends is on a new building. It's not on trying to renovate this building. We understand the issues that have been raised. We've read a lot of the reports. We've discussed with different people in town their theories and concepts. But we still look at this building and its substantial issues as being one that putting the money we put into it and still ending up with what we would consider a subpar building makes no sense to the town. And I think in the long run, we will benefit much better from, potentially, even if it is a few dollars more, to build the new building that's exactly what this town needs for the next, 30 or 40 years versus something that's a retrofit and spaces aren't as efficiently used. One of our biggest concerns, and there's a lot of things obviously out there, the seismic, the drainage issues, all of that stuff aside, one of our biggest issues still remains the fact that we have a lower level of this building that, no matter what you do, it's going to be second-rate space because of its ceiling heights and its construction. To do the job right, you're still going to end up with an area, which is 50% of the building, that is not going to be what you would really want to have on a long-term basis. So, when we consider that and look at that, even if, some of the numbers that are being pushed out there are, possibly correct, which we don't think they are, but only the bid process will actually validate that one way or the other. We still think that you come up with a building that does not serve the town well in the long run. And yes, it would be maybe slightly cheaper. We're not even sure of that at this point. But what we are sure of is if we were to redo the building at this point and build a new one, we know we could build the space that we need, keep it as efficient and tight as possible as far as a number of square feet, and make it all usable versus partly usable. So that the conclusion of the board was unanimous to continue with, moving forward with the new building versus a renovation.
Thank you. Does anybody else from your committee want to weigh in, or Steve?
Right, pretty much speaks for us, sorry.
Sean?
Just if you could, just so everyone can get refamiliarized with what the bid process is and what I'm assuming the $550,000 is still the number.
Yeah,
And what that's going to get us.
Well, the first money that would be spent would be to design the actual building. Everything that's been put out to date, remember, is on very short budget numbers for someone to do the calculations and studies of how departments operate today, what their square footage requirements are, what the manpower requirements are. And it's not just for what's today's, scope, but also what you would anticipate, in the near future that these departments would look like. I didn't see a lot of change in personnel, so it wasn't that there's a major expansion of personnel expected within the town hall. So the studies that have been so far are really very rudimentary. They're not design plans yet. They're not complete, instructions on how to build this. So that money is really to go to do what we've done, in the past on a couple projects, is actually get the full set of plans out so that we can go out to bid. The problem with that, and I understand the AdCom's concern from a timing point of view, but it would be a very tight window, to be honest with you, to get bid documents in 6 months. And the intent here, from what I've understood, is to try to come to something to the annual town meeting, so you're in front of the biggest part of the population with a large decision like this. And obviously, if you start backing yourself up from a time point of view, May 1st coming back 6 months doesn't give us a lot of time in which to get this thing done. On top of that, we would have to have our numbers in hand at the annual town meeting. So, which means you have to back yourself up again a little bit further, because what we would want to do is basically have the bids come in probably 15 days at least before town meeting, and there's a 30-day window in which to accept. So if the town meeting were to vote for it, say May 1st, May 2nd, whatever the annual town meeting comes to, it still would be within the 30-day window of the contract time frame for the bids that are actually put out. So that's why we've been kind of backing it up, saying that if we could get the go-ahead in October, get the plans all out onto the street as quickly as possible, and it's still going to be a very short bidding window that we're looking for, we could potentially at this point, meet the May 1st or whatever the date is for the annual town meeting timeframe. We get pushed into November, it's going to be very, very tight, and I would say probably pretty much impossible to make the May timeframe if that's what your real issue is, and do the plans right. Remember, the plans and the specs are really what you live by, and if those aren't done and isn't a tight package, then what you'll get on bids is the potential for a lot of change orders and a lot of issues which you don't want. We haven't had that as a problem in any of the projects we've done so far, but we've had the time. Some of them have been tighter than others. I think the library was a very tight time frame in which we tried to do that. So we haven't had significant change orders there, but a lot of review has to happen into those documents and specs to make sure you really hit it. And we also are still expecting whoever the engineers are to do this is to do one more look back at what our current specs requirements are, just to make sure, again, we're going to put out a building that is what this town will need for the next 30 to 40 years, not something that doesn't meet those needs for long range, because you're putting too much money into it to not look at it that way. So the time frame problem really is the time frame in which developing the plans and specs for a new building would require. Also, my feeling is that we're going to be in front of the zoning board because of the site. If you look at the way the building sits on the site, there are envelope issues potentially in the program that we would have to address, and I would like as much time as possible to be in front of those boards to get those approvals before we get to town meeting as well, or not get the approvals, to at least know that we're either going to make it or not going to make it. So I think the window right now is pushing sometime in October. Is going to be very, very tight. After that, I think really you're going to be looking at a special town meeting after annual.
If that's the case, why are we rushing now if you don't expect it's going to be packaged up and ready for annual, and you think it might require a special sometime in the summer?
I'm only suggesting that if you want to hit the May timeframe, that's why we're pushing. If you don't want to hit the May timeframe, you want to hit next August, then the schedule gets pushed a little and you can go to November. But you still there's a significant amount of work that needs to be done between now and whenever that town meeting is, which as a minimum is a 6-month window as far as I'm concerned.
And I would think John, we'd want to have it before the end of the school year, just for the fact that families do go away at long extended stays.
Oh, no, I understand trying to hit that date. I mean, that's when you have most of the time together.
If we have a special, I would say it would have to be in June, not any later than that. But, I mean, just for conversation-wise, it's, July and August would be out of the question for a special town meeting in my eyes,
You're also trying to hit the largest audience, which is typically the May annual town meeting. So to throw it out for a 1 or 2 article special, you're really not going to guarantee yourself the best numbers.
Anything else, John?
No, I'm all set.
Lorraine?
So not even like an additional week? Trying to figure.
Well, anything can be done, and we've done that on other projects where you make it tighter. I'm just telling you, the tighter you make it, the more
difficult.
likely you are to have potential problems where you couldn't get through all the reviews you'd like to get to. We try, again, and you're hiring, whatever engineering firm is that does it. They go through their own peer review. They go through a lot of steps in the process. But in the end, we also like to look at it too. So we like to have the time to have gone through and see what they have, as well as you may be interested in seeing some of the outcomes of what the specs look like, what the plan lays out at. There may be a lot of, more people as far as looking at how the view of the building is. I mean, we have conceptuals right now, but that's all they are. I mean, nothing is etched in stone until you finish the program. So I just think as much time as you can give it, the better off you are. Again, if it's too much of a rush in your eyes,
Well,
then...
the only thing, but we said years ago, there was a special in March, and then the annual came up in May. And I was on AdCom at the time, and a promise was made to AdCom that we're not going to, rush another special at you, and to give them the time to vet, all the warrant articles. And this one is looking just like that March special that was sort of forced upon them.
Well, you have another choice. I mean, you guys are the ones who decide what's on the warrant. So you can elect to not have as many articles on the warrant if you want to keep it to a smaller meeting. I mean, that's an option you have as far as how you control what goes on the warrant. It doesn't have to be 20 items. It could be 3.
Well, right now, it's only 14.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, the board has to review those tonight, and they can decide at that time, you know, what ones they want to have addressed.
I think you also have the option of having 2 specials in the fall. So AdCom has time to, I mean, I don't think AdCom needs a lot of time to get up to date with Town Hall. I mean, I think everybody was pretty much on board last time around, and situations fell through. I think some of the other articles, water and sewer, having discussions with Paul today, the chairman, he said those are gonna be a little bit harder to digest with, you know, they got rookies coming on. So, but I think they can get up to date pretty fast if we were possibly to cut this meeting in half and then have a second one first week in December for the articles that are pressing for planning board or something. That, I mean, we all gotta work together on this, and I don't think the spring is the time, or the summer, actually, to have a second one. You can have 2 small ones in the fall, possibly. I'm just throwing that out there. So, Lorraine, I'm sorry, you were...
No, that's really just
You know, I think
wondering if there was any
Yeah.
other flexibility, but I think,
the building committee will do whatever we need to accomplish this. I can't speak for the engineering firms, whichever one it ends up being, because don't forget, we also have to find who the engineering firm is, so that's going to take us a little time. It's not guaranteed that, you know, KBA, who has done the work to point, gets it, because that's not the way the process works. So, you know, but I think representing the board, our board will do anything that's put in front of us to the best we can. But I'm just going to tell you, being realistic, that the more time we have, the more likely we are to come up with the outcome that we all want to have, so.
thank you.
Jeannie?
The Board of Selectmen, from my recollection, voted for a new building. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So the Board of Selectmen are the ones to direct the process? So we are going for a new building?
Well, when we had that vote, John was not part of the board. So I would think we'd have to reaffirm that vote just as much as his committee did tonight.
Okay, the only reason I'm bringing that up is it's my understanding that the Citizens Committee, who is proposing rehabbing this building, is to go before the advisory committee in 2 weeks, I believe. So why?
Well, that's...
You know, that's my concern. We've got 2 committees. And I thought that you had directed both of these committees to meet. I thought, from my recollection of a couple of meetings ago.
I suggested that they get together,
And,
Bill's committee had a meeting and said, you know what? They reaffirmed their vote, and we're going down this route, so they're not willing to entertain that. Am I correct?
Well,
So you-
and
so you
actually,
didn't meet with the
We
other
spoke with Dick, and actually received most of his documents, although I
Mm-hmm.
did receive a newest one just recently with conclusions. But he did come in front of our board and gave us his explanation of the facts. I actually met with Dick at his house at one point in time to go through information as well. You know, again, I think the question that the selectmen have to make as a decision is, you know, who's representing the town as far as these building projects. We are a standing board, which you appoint. You know, we have gone through the rigor of looking at the options, looking at the buildings, and looking at the design. And all I can tell you right now is we respectfully disagree with the other committee's conclusions. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong, doesn't mean we're right or wrong, but, you know, in our best judgment, we think we're making the right decision.
well, I just want to make it clear, what direction are we going? Are we going for a new building? Is that it?
Well,
Because if we're going for a new building, well, then we proceed and
Move forward.
move forward. But if,
And I'll call the vote as soon as all the board members speak and get input from everybody here.
okay.
Well, this approach, we're really just trying to decide to go forward with the $550,000. That's the warrant article.
Correct.
Now, that may, I mean, it's going to look at the program, correct? Once again?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that 550 will go through the whole process. soup to nuts to come up with a final design and a final spec for that design.
Right, and that program will either call out a new building, or it'll call out,
No.
No,
it's
that
gonna
program
cause
is
us
based
to be
on doing a new building.
okay, so that's the premise that's going for. Okay.
The cost, to be honest with you, the cost of trying to develop both of those concepts all the way out, cost them all the way out, in the way that we want to. I mean, the way we're looking at this, because taxpayers, are concerned about the overall cost, the most appropriate way to do it so that there is as accurate a number as possible is to go out to bid. If you go out to bid, you're coming forward with a number that the contractor has already basically set forward. You can drop your contingencies much lower at that point in time because you've got a firm number. So, your ability to go through the process is obviously a much tighter number than doing what would be maybe your traditional way with just saying, okay, we're estimating now it's $8 million, and we're just going to ask for $8 million, and then let's go see what happens. We may either, come up with a plan that's much higher or much lower, but you don't know. This way, if you're willing to commit to which way you want to take the project, what we're willing to be able to do for you is basically come back and say, here's the number that you need with, a small contingency, because obviously you still can run into issues. Who knows what we'll run into on the ground here. We, know the old school was buried here, so those are some contingencies that you just can't totally understand when you go from, but it's a lot less when it's a new construction. So,
Bill, and how many buildings have you and your committee represented in this town to your date?
a lot of these guys have been on even longer than I have, but we've done it, I've been around for 13 years now. We've done the Ahern, the Joint Public Safety, the high school, and the library. So other than DPW and a couple of the other elementary schools, we've pretty much touched every building in town.
And did one of those buildings ever go over budget?
No.
Was one of them ever over on the time frame of construction?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had some
I
contractor issues, but the
Deputy
contractors,
Ahern?
right now, there's liquidating damages on the library that are at about $102,000 that the contractor will have to pay based on being over time frame, which basically will cover our costs. I mean, the town's not going to make any money on that. That will cover our additional rent and costs that way, and that's why you have the liquidating damages. The problem with public bidding is you never know what kind of contract you're going to get. And we've had some very good ones. We had a great one on the high school, which was very easy to work with. We had, to be honest with you, two very tough ones, the Joint Public Safety Building and the library, probably two of the hardest projects we had to do because of the contractors. But, we fought our ways through them, and the town ended up with the project that they were paying for.
And
So,
all under budget?
yeah.
Very well representing the town.
I
James?
No, I just had one more
Okay,
question.
sorry, James.
Have we decided on a location of, if we go with the new building, have we decided on a location?
That's what we're going to
building.
discuss tonight.
You mean
too.
how it sits on this lot?
Well, whether it's going to be right here or further back in the parking lot.
The current best thinking is, and again, we can do a little bit more research on this, but our current best thinking is that in the place of the existing building is the best because of zoning issues. The secondary concern we have is, again, with the old center school being buried back there, our understanding is a lot of things that were in that building are still in the parking lot. So, between zoning and the potential of getting into a real can of worms, redoing it here with the addition and making that the parking, we think is still the best, not encroaching on any neighbors any more than the current building is for the most part. Whereas if we move it backwards, we're encroaching on every neighbor around here that this lot touches. So I think that, that's been at least our thinking up to this point.
And the estimates that you have right now take into consideration relocation costs in
Yes.
regard to the employees right now?
Yeah, yeah.
James?
What's the tentative date for the special right now?
21st
October 21st. So you're putting it back from October 21st to the third week in November, so a month. So between November and May town meeting, you've got November, December,
Like 6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
So taking the concept that Castle Booze did to put into design development, construction documents, specifications and construction documents, and go through the design development, which may or may not include zoning board which is appealable, and it's a process on its own. So you're saying 6 months is just too tight for that?
I think you get to 6 months, well, again, because there is no guarantee of the engineering side. So you understand the process in which going out, you have to advertise, got to go through the selection process and all that. That's going to chew up, pretty close to a month by the time you're done, so.
So that one month differential is the breaker. And then on the other hand, we're hearing advisory committee that they're not even up to, so we've got one new member, they've got several new members, they have to go through the process, and they just said that they cannot do it until the last week in November.
Well, they said they couldn't do all the articles, James. And Paul, you're still here. Can you approach the mic, please?
That was leading up to my question.
Oh,
Is it
I'm
all-
sorry.
No, is it all or nothing? But with respect to, I mean, there's certain articles that we need to do some funding that is pretty quick, but if it's just 2 or 3 articles versus 14, do you have the capacity to do that from the advisory committee?
I have to see what all the articles are. I mean, some of them I'm sure we could, some of them it would be difficult, but just for clarification, I wasn't saying the last week of November. I was saying the second or third week in November, just giving us another 2 to 3 weeks. I think we could certainly, work that. What I don't want to do is start off this year with a bunch of no actions on. I think there's a lot of articles that people would be disappointed hearing no action on, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to deliver that to you folks. We want to be able to really look at this, and if it's a matter of negotiating a couple of weeks or so, fine. I understand, what you folks are saying too, but we're talking about rushing. We're talking about the consideration of rushing engineers and rushing bidders and rushing these things. But I'm asking you to not rush AdCom, which is not rush the town. You're essentially going with the premise that this is a slam dunk. And I'm not so sure it would be if people don't get a full, view of it. And I think that full view requires people to be able to look at it, hear from people, even if you folks have all said, we're going with the town, and look at, you guys are running this, I'm fine with that, but I think people will be more comfortable if it's been vetted out. And I do think a lot of it was vetted out to a certain degree last year, so I'm not so sure that I'm looking for exaggerated time, just a little bit.
So Paul, well, I got you. We got a budget adjustment on 1, unpaid bill for prior year on 2, town hall plans at 3 on the articles. Then we have a DPW administration office, that's 4.
Sewer service area.
Yeah, that's 5. If we cut this to 5, can you do October? And then what we'll do is,
Those 5?
yeah, well, I'm not saying it's, the first 4 I can definitely say can be on there, I'm not sure about the 5th. But the thing I'm gonna say to you is, I'm gonna have I would like the town to have another special meeting in December, and that would give you time to get all the other articles.
Yeah, I think some of these articles, like sewer, is gonna be, that's.
It's gonna be a grind, no
gonna
doubt
be-
about it, always is. And then you've got some planning board articles that are, Sharon, you can come approach, please. Some planning board articles, I know the 5th one, after speaking with the planning board, that would be very important to them, would be for the park, for the grant for the park. So I think that would be number 5 to me, right now. Keep it to those 5, just because I'm trying to appease every department in town and try and get this ball rolling. So if we can give you 5, is the board, am I off the wall on this? Is the board okay with the second special in December? Because that's usually when it is, December, first week in December. And it gives everybody the time to do things right. And I think, we talked earlier, I think the town hall digest, and that's not a big issue. I think some of the other ones would be. So I think we should just prioritize 5 for one special. And you know what, we have to have a second one, we will.
But Mark, you really don't want to have a second special town meeting if you're going to have 4 or 5 articles that can wait till May. So you should take the top, whether it's 5, 7, 8, do them now, and the rest can wait till May. You just don't want to throw another town meeting out for 5 or 6 articles that can
We're
wait.
just trying to appease
No,
them.
I understand.
I understand. So Sharon, if Paul, if you could let her have the mic for a minute, that's basically the funding for the grant is what you're looking for. I just got this
Yes, we
today.
understand from the state, there's a very outside chance that there would be money available this fiscal year and this fiscal year only. So we need to get that vote done sooner rather than later. If you follow Mr. Cutler's advice, I would very, very, very greatly appreciate adoption of the Chapter 41, Section 81U, allowing us to come to you to do defaulted subdivisions instead of having to go to town meeting. And the rest can wait, in my opinion. I know my board feels very strongly that they're all good articles, but those are the two
Prior-
most time-critical ones.
So,
What about the
Jeannie,
sewer? What about the sewer?
hold on. Are you marking down what she's prioritizing?
I know which one she is.
It's Article 13.
It's not a funding article, it's a grant acceptance article.
Right. So there's gonna be two from planning board that
Well, I would
prioritize right now?
respectfully request that if you go with a truncated warrant, that you allow us to have two articles.
Okay. All right. And, so now we're up to, is anybody from talk to water or sewer at all?
Move that this is a priority for them with the IMA, is that correct?
I don't know how time critical that one is, though. It's just
No.
the laying out of the plan, the districts,
Okay.
but without establishing anything.
So we're gonna do
that-
one of two things, it
they
sounds
need
like.
I think it's critical to
that's-
them.
Has anyone seen anything from water and sewer?
No.
No, I mean,
Is
we've been
anyone
at
going
their,
to
we've
the-
been at their meetings and.
Bob Garber was just here and he's
Yeah.
gone.
Because they're meeting right now.
Oh, they're meeting right now. All right, we'll have that discussion later with them. So we got two choices. We're gonna, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Several members of AdCom are here, as you know. Even with an October 21st date, that gives us 2 to 3 weeks to work on the articles. Three, thank you. We will do our darndest to get them done, but we cannot make any guarantees that we won't come up with a no action,
I understand.
especially on something as big as the town hall. And that's just, we just want to be forthright with you all that that's may be the outcome and not, for you all not to get surprised.
Is there a chance, and that's why I was AdCom can meet weekly?
We do.
Oh, you're not going bi-weekly?
No, we go weekly and we usually are here for 3 and so hours.
Okay. All right. So, can't do much more than that, can you?
Unless we take sabbaticals from our jobs.
Yeah, we all understand
If
that
you can
one.
pay our bills for that time, Mark, we're all set.
We'll put it on the next warrant.
Thank you.
Paul?
I'm not trying to make this an issue or debate, but I'm just a little curious. Why wasn't this rushed last year? I mean, we did this last year, and I don't ever remember hearing about we have to get stuff done for this. We'd be voting on plans, correct? And I just don't remember hearing this need or this rush last year, so I'm just curious.
I don't think it was a priority of the board last
It
year.
was tabled. You know what it came down, Paul, is we have a very respected town inspector who's also a building commissioner who's basically gonna have to cite his own building if we don't do something downstairs. That's why another discussion tonight, we're gonna move those people possibly up into this room. So we've got an issue that's been growing for years, and it's becoming a hazard to most people, I think, in their eyes, not to, put a real red button on it, but we're trying to be proactive here.
No, I understand, thank you, and like I said, we'll do the very best, and we just don't want to let down other departments. I did talk with Bob in Water, and they've got stuff coming, and they want their due diligence too, so, we just don't want to let the town down, we want to do our best. That's
Okay.
all.
Randy, you got something?
I was just going to say, this has always been the approach that has been put forward for this part of the town hall voting. This is the funding for the soft costs. And this is the third time it will have come forward, and in all 3 times, this is the timing that we've tried to achieve. But this is the first time we've gotten this close to actually get it possibly considered on the warrant go forward.
Okay. James, anything else to add? Go ahead, John.
Bill, while we have you, I've seen an early rendering of what the new town hall might look like. Is that set in stone, or could it take a different shape?
It could take a different shape, and I think I would expect some input for a lot of things. I mean, we've always said that, you know, and we've done pretty well with this in the last few projects, is, you know, to keep pitched roofs, not flat roofs. So a colonial design, obviously, is in keeping with Foxborough, would be really what we would try to accomplish. But, you know, the inside dimensions really will lay out based on what would be, because when you're starting from ground zero, you would do this anyway, how offices work best together. You know, what ones kind of cover for each other, what ones do that, and that's how you kind of start your configuration. But the outside, again, I would think we would get to a point where we would want some input into whether or not we're on the right path as far as the look and the, you know, the mixture of materials and stuff like that everybody is going to be comfortable with. Typically, we've, you know, been involved with other projects like the when we did the joint public safety. Obviously, we're in front of the planning board, and they had some pretty interesting concepts on how they wanted that to look because of the neighborhood they were building out effectively with the plans on the state hospital property. And I think we did a fairly good job with that. But, you know, it's always, you know, hard to do based on meeting all the needs. But so I think we bring that back.
And the 550, is that a not to exceed price?
That's what we have available to us at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
I just seen, Bob, could you come up to the mic for a minute, please? We've been asking questions about articles and trying to arrange how we're going to do the special town meeting in October, and there's a lot of time restraints in a lot of departments. You have some articles coming forward from water and sewer.
2.
Are they very pressing for the 21st of October?
That would be pretty short order for us to get out to the public, publish what we need to publish, do our, you know, information to the public. So yeah, October 21st would be really short for us.
Is it something that you think can wait to the annual, those articles?
Probably not. We need to be ready to go next year, maybe before the annual for the IMA. And to do that, we need to have our service district voted on by town meeting. And the other one is, if there's going to be an article for a town hall or anything to do with a town hall special, we do have the combined public works building that is in the works right now, and we're looking for an appropriation for that. So that would probably be more appropriate to be done along with the town hall.
Okay, so, you know, we said earlier, well, we're trying to accommodate everybody, and we're under some time restraints about getting plans drafted and be ready for possibly bringing this to town meeting in the spring. So we're trying to limit some of the articles. So your pressing article right now would be the joint public safety building? I mean,
That and the source service district
So
area.
you've got two.
Define the map for that.
okay. Okay, so are you gonna stick around for the discussion later on?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank
I'll be
you.
here. Thank you.
All right, getting all this information that we've got so far, does anybody on the board feel that we don't wanna go down this approach towards a new building?
I think the process, I mean, this is how our town government is structured, is that AdCom's a very important committee in town, and they have a responsibility to vet things, and they do research the Board of Selectmen don't have the ability to do. They do it from a citizen's perspective. And not that I disagree with one approach or another, it's just that I wouldn't mind hearing the, you know, what AdCom thinks of this whole thing. I mean, AdCom has seen it before, but there are new people on it, and they're supposed to come back to the town and give us a recommendation.
Right, but as far as the board goes, John, how, do you wanna take the advice from the, you know, the committee here in front of us
Well,
and vote, because you weren't, I'm trying
you
to
know,
let you
I'm
vote
on
this.
record of saying I hate to throw buildings away. I mean,
Right.
this building's paid for, it's worn out. It's a shame, I understand why. I mean, it's been neglected for years, and it's probably gotten beyond the point of repair. But to say, you know, we're gonna take this building which exists and it's paid for and basically throw it away, I will probably come to grips with that fact. Reluctantly, I would probably have to say, you know, Bill's plan, I could live with it. I mean, but the fact is, you take an asset like this and throw it away and find no other use for it is still a shame.
Well, you know, and I understand that, but like I've always told former selectmen I sit next to, sometimes you, as a standing member, you have to rely on other members and their expertise.
Oh, no,
in
I
other
respect Bill
committees.
and the committee. I mean,
No.
they do great work. It's just that, it's a shame that this has fallen into such disrepair that it's now no longer in the equation.
It's like, we have so many other unfunded liabilities in town that I would never want to see this stay in town or go somewhere else, and then we get another unfunded liability sitting here that'd be detrimental to the whole cause in the future.
No, and the other thing is, I'm glad that everyone's in agreement that a town hall will remain on this site. It's gonna be in the downtown. I'm glad to hear that it's possibly to take on a colonial look. It'll look like Foxborough, much like the front facade of this building.
Yep.
I was a little petrified that it was gonna be a glass office building, which would look completely out of place.
So basically, we haven't had, you weren't on the board when we voted 5-0 to go with the committee's recommendation to build a new town hall. I'd like to reassure that that's what this board does, so I'd entertain a motion on that right now.
Motion to approve the choice of a new construction for town hall.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Just under discussion, I agree with John. I don't like giving up something that we already have. That if there's a way to renovate this, certainly I think that's where the focus would be put. I have a lot of respect for Bill and his group and the projects that they've done, but in my career, I've probably worked on about 30 to 40 public projects, schools, libraries, senior centers, public safety buildings, and very seldom have I seen a building that we're dealing with all the MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, handicapped accessibility, site constraints inside the building for square footage, that has warranted renovating it. The only buildings that I've done is because I've had significant historic significance, that if you knocked it down, it would be a hardship to the town. There's nothing historic about this building, and the cost, from my experience, to renovate it and come up with similar square footage with life expectancy for all the different structures, you're gonna come out a little bit more expensive to do it this way. And I don't think, we could probably get by cheaper, but in the long run, dealing with older structures with retrofitted systems on it, granted, the structural, the MEP and all that stuff, but the size inside to make it function, plus you get a full basement, that's half of the area. I just can't justify putting that type of money and living with something that you're not going to get the bang for the buck. So, I've also met with Dick in his living room. I've gone over the Castle Blues plans. I've gone over Dick's recent reports. And yes, there is some valid points that group has, but in overall, the big picture is, I think they miss the pictures, the items that I just talked about, the value of having new versus old. Having said that, I know we're probably going to get a hit saying, oh, we all want just new, we want the best. But putting the money to retrofit something and it end up something that is going to cost more in the long run, I think we've got to go new on this.
Well, I mean, if the costs are the same, I think they're pretty close to renovate and add on to this building versus build new. Are they pretty close?
In our view, there are.
Okay. And you say, if you're thinking in the long run, it probably is better to build new. But I'm just on record as saying, maybe I have a soft spot for old buildings, but I like the look and feel and the place of this building. And if new construction, all things being equal, could look something similar to this, I'd be satisfied.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but can I speak, because I know you're in a vote situation.
Well, no, actually, I was going to let you speak, and I got two hands out there raising. Before I do that, anybody else from the board want to speak? Because I'm going to call the vote after I see 2 or 3 people here have something to say. Seeing none, Bill?
Okay. John, we came from the exact same point you're coming from. I think when we all started in the process I don't think there was a single one of us that was anticipating that we would recommend taking the building down. I like the design of the building, I like the way it looks. But after going through all of the information that we were given, after looking at, the components to the building, the reasons why we moved the police department out of here initially, not only was size, but was condition of what we were dealing with as far as the structure. We all had to come all the way around. We went 360 on this ourselves as to what we thought was the best bang, as it was just put, for the buck, on where we would end up with the building. So that wasn't like we're far from that if you look at it. We've renovated a 200,000 square foot high school. We didn't look to throw any of it away. We renovated a 120,000 square foot middle school and added on to it. We didn't look to throw any of that away. When it came to joint public and safety, we had no choice but to throw away effectively what we were in and to go to something new, because neither one of the buildings had the ability to do what we wanted to do with it, and neither one of them were in a condition that they were worth renovating. That's why we've come to where we are with this. I think it was a very tough decision. I don't think anybody did this casually, and we're all taxpayers too.
We've been at it for years. I mean, I've seen the mental wranglings that have taken place. I mean, but it's you have to arrive at a place in time and be and make a decision and be satisfied with it. And I spent most of the weekend looking at all the data from over the years, and you say, you almost hold your nose and say, let's go. So I'm okay.
Okay, we're almost done. Thank you, Bill. Sandra, do you have something to say? And then I'm going to have Dick speak, and that's it.
I'd just like to clarify a couple of points. First of all, 13 years ago, we at the town hall, when we gave up the sale money of a school that was to be used to fund the joint public safety building, we were told we were next. We haven't been next for a long time. And the reason why major construction wasn't done on this building was because I'm sure that any taxpayer in this town would find great objection to us spending $100,000 to repair a roof, knowing that we were next 13 years ago. So, every year Andy had windows washed and gutters painted and general repairs done. And since then, that's been the policy. But to put big money into a building that, we weren't sure what was going to happen, it didn't seem like the right thing to do. So if the building seems neglected, it's because 13 years ago, we were promised we were next. And that's the reason why. Thank you.
Thank you. Dick?
Thank you. I should remind Sandy, it was 18 years ago when we started on this thing, meeting in the upstairs of the fire department as the building committee and the town hall study committee. There's several other things, of course, that can be added in here, but I'll be as brief as I can. There's one point that may save you some time, and I think you may want to capture this with the building committee. They can start their architect engineer selection now, putting in the central register that the money has not yet been voted, but the voting date will be the so-and-so, and these people will apply. We did this when we got into the original high school in '68. We had the architect on board.
Hold on. Is that true?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I mean, we're not expecting to wait, but if you guys don't approve to go forward, we're not gonna even put it in the central register.
Okay. All right, so you're expecting to do that anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me suggest, because as far as I'm concerned, and most of the people I've talked to, there isn't one of them that says nothing is to be done. Everyone says something needs to be done. And the only question is it going to be alteration and addition or new? And I think if we can proceed with the architect, we can get the money from Randy. He has this secret means of coming up with the funding. We can begin moving on this. Now, I think everyone in town is convinced something needs to be done. And I think if we can move with the architect, let's do it. Get them on board so that the day after the money is voted, and I'm sure money will be voted this time, we can sign the contract with the architect and save that time. That's just a hint from past experience as we've gone through the process over the years.
Can I just interrupt for just a clarification before you get to your next point? when I'm hearing words like secret means to get money, it irritates me. You know, we're trying to do everything as open as possible. It just puts a bad taste when people think we can just grab money from these secret accounts someplace in the town, because I haven't seen them, and if I have, certainly would have said something. But every year, this issue of, you know, reserve money, I know there's 2% we can move around from department to department, but as far as I know, there's no secret money, and I just wish we could refrain from
Wrong
using
word.
that type of
Apology.
terminology.
Would you like me to clarify exactly?
I don't think we need to.
You don't need to. My apologies there. I've heard the word secret over the years, but he manages to come up with the funding. Let me leave it that way.
All right, enough.
Okay?
Enough.
Enough.
Jimmy just asked you to refrain from that,
Okay.
and then you just add an insult to an insult I didn't pick up on. So now we're gonna go to the next point, and if that doesn't have some legitimacy, then we're gonna move completely on. I'm gonna call the vote.
Okay, 3 items, basically. One is, as we go through the process of all the reports and the meetings that we have had on this building before we moved the police out, there was never a thought of a new building built into any of the reports. Even the 2008 report that you were involved with, Mark, talks about the building is substantially sound. All it needs is, I forget what the wording was, needs upgrading and replacement of equipment. KBA says basically the same thing. None of the disaster words that we heard around the table in other meetings are in any of those reports. The basic elements in the reports are the upgrading of the heating system, the electrical, the plumbing, ADA, and what have you. But ADA, seismic, and the energy code were not in force when this building was built. But if you look at what the costs are of getting involved in these things, it becomes important. The estimates that KBA put together on seismic, it's $100,000 for this building. It's $600,000 for the new building, because they have to consider the building structure as part of the new construction. You don't have to have new construction here. You need 20 columns and 2 tons of steel beams, and that's it, to meet the seismic load. You also need the metal stud and stuff like that. But it's simplistic kind of operation because you already have a shell here. The point is, our group has looked at many options. You've heard of many of them. The rentals, the do-nothing, the minimum repair. But I'll give you just one example. Minimum repair on basic construction cost will cost you $700,000 more than a full alteration of this building, given KBA's numbers. Their minimum repair doesn't move a single wall in the building, doesn't touch a door. It does the handicap stuff, it does a couple of things.
We're not gonna do minimum repairs
that's
in this
it.
building. That's out of the question. We're beyond that.
But that was one of the options.
Right,
The
right.
minimum repair, the no work and what have you, forget them. The rental is the only other option that is being talked about out there. And one of our members is chasing it even further at this stage to see what the impact may be. Bill Casbarrett spoke about the lease would include some measure, this triple whatever it was on the wording, the fit-out cost. What do we need for the vault storage? Are we going to have to buy it and then knock it down? Is the owner going to build it for us at no cost? I doubt it. But there's a whole pile of things in there on this rental, even if it's only the 1 year or 2 year rental that we get into. The post office is gone. Forget it. The old and the new post office. The figures came in last week. Bob gave me a copy of it. You're talking $4 to $5 million on a purchase, given the square footage of the 3 properties in Connecticut that they gave us. Even if we could get that building, it's still $5 million to do the work inside the building. We're up at $9 million. We're in that same ballpark as 8.6 or whatever you want to play with. The other rentals, there's properties down on Foxborough Boulevard and Forbes Boulevard. They're nowhere near the center, but they're cheap. Do we consider them? we haven't heard. We haven't heard how much square footage we need or whether we need a meeting room or anything else added in on it. The rentals may have a viable option, either short-term or long-term, but we haven't got the full information on it as yet. So we're back into the basic issue of Plan A or Plan B. The plan that we have come up with is A1. It's a revised Plan A. The advantage of it is we have more square footage in 16 of the 26 spaces in the building than in the new building for the actual office layouts and work areas and what have you. The new building exceeds the A1 building in only one space. One space. Moreover, the architect handed out this blue sheet to you at a meeting. It talks about the deficit of the B building. We're short 600 square feet of programmed space. The A building is large. We have 2,100 square feet more than we need. Question, can we cut down A? Yes, we can cut down A. The Plan A1 is down at 16,250 square feet. This puts us in at $5.4 million using KBA's numbers. And there's nothing in the KBA study indicating that if we do the seismic work, we do the insulation work, we do all of the other energy work, the ADA, that this building is in a lower position in everyone's eye or activity or anything else. They presented 2 workable plans, not one. And they claimed, since the price is the same, you should select the new. Now, this is a hell of a judgment call that has to be made. New is always better. If you were offered used car and new car for the same price, you'd take the new car. Fairly evident. But the whole question, I think, gets down to that basic issue. Is the new building space effective in terms of comparison with the A1 plan? No. It has a deficit of 7% on the programmed area required for the building. A1 has a surplus of 5%. Every space exceeds except one, and that's one of the common areas in the basement. In terms of cost,
Dick, how much longer?
about 2 minutes.
You're losing this whole crowd, I can tell you right now.
About 2 minutes. The cost issue. There's several ways of looking at the cost. You know, Bill mentioned some of the numbers. I can go into a pile of numbers. You've seen some of the numbers. Where do we count the site? Do we put it in the addition or the new portion? Where do we put the elevator? So there are many of the little pieces like this that are floating in all of the studies. So the numbers will not balance out, no matter how you work it out. But we're saying with confidence, there's a $3 million difference between a workable renovation and addition with all of the code items put in, with all of the new partitions, the new heating system, plumbing, roofing, new gutters. You know, all of that's in there for a $3 million savings. If we want to blow the $3 million, fine. You will vote it, town meeting will vote it, I won't. But the point is, there's a $3 million differential, and hopefully on the 18th, when we meet with the AdCom, we can get deeper into this and give them some hard detail on it. I just wanted to expose it at this point and offer what I could in terms of the hiring of the architect, because that would be a plus to get them on board early, and we can move a lot quicker on the program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, I said I wasn't going to let anybody else speak after Dick. I apologize. Is it something you really need to, because I was going to call a vote.
I think it's germane, and it will take a minute. It's not aggressive.
Okay, thank you. Please, we're going to move on here.
Quickly, my name is Steve Uden. I live at 21 Carmine, and I'm not representing any board in this town. I'm representing myself as a citizen and taxpayer in the town. I think the subject matter expertise is all over this room, and I think the passion to do the right thing is everywhere as well. One thing I haven't heard and wondered if it was germane to this conversation is the upcoming renovations of 2 elementary schools that are at least on the horizon and at least maybe mentioned elsewhere at some other time. I just wanted to bring that up and thank everybody for their passion and concern, and
And thank
the
you,
work
Steve, and
everybody's done.
that has been brought forward, and we're already kind of moving on after this to move on towards that. So, all right, any more discussion amongst the board? All's in favor? 5-0, reaffirming the vote of the last vote the board made to go with the new construction. All right, and then also, I'd like the board to, the committee has suggested that we put it on this site. I'd like the board to vote. I'd like entertain a motion to keep the town hall site in its present location, give or take a couple of yards. Does anybody want to?
Oh,
Well,
I don't
before we
think
go in
we-
that
that's-
direction, I think the Castle Booze program that we just voted on has it on the site.
Right.
So to go into a different site kind of nulls the vote that we just took.
I just wanted to reaffirm the people in the center of the town that didn't quite understand that concept, because, you know, you talk about, for years it's been thought of, and I've even said this publicly before, the new town, center of town, the new center of town, which is kind of migrated that way. We're losing the post office, most likely. We'll have the retail there, but not the, you know, functioning organization of the post office. I think to lose this area, having the town hall would be detrimental to the rest of this town. I just wanted to reaffirm that to the public that the board plans to keep it in this location. So we don't have to vote on that, but does anybody disagree with that?
No.
So
And I
Jimmy
think
well
that-
said in the
Yeah, I think
first
it
vote.
addresses the rental and all the other options that Dick brought up that they were looked at.
So now, when we go over the articles in a couple of minutes, hopefully, we'll set a date and we'll get the articles straight for the town meeting. And what date and how many articles will be on it. Okay? Moving on, we're gonna talk about town hall again. This whole situation is, Mr. Casbera has brought it to the board's attention and my attention and a lot of people's attention that, you know, he has to act, that he, you know, if he went to do an inspection in any other building, this and that, he's got to act. He's the building commissioner and building inspector, and he's now to the point where he's, listen, it's not even funny anymore. We need to move these people out of the basement. We've all seen it. So I was talking to Bill the other day, and we, through the school, generosity of the school committee and the schools, and Bill, we can move our meetings to the media center at the high school. There's a little bit of an adjustment, possibly in overtime for the janitorial staff, because they'd have to open and close for us, and, but they're willing to accommodate us. So I'm sure at the end of the year, we can figure out what that's gonna be. It's gonna be pennies, all right? And I would hope that this board would vote tonight to move our meetings to the media center, starting at the next scheduled meeting. And I've talked to Cable Access, they're on board, they're all set up. I talked to Paul DeFazio about AdCom moving their meetings, and I also talked to Planning Board, and they can move their meetings. And where they have them, they don't have to be televised. It was very much a priority for us to move our meetings where they could be televised to the public. So, is anybody want to have more discussion on that? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve future meetings to be conducted at the media center at the high school for the Board of Selectmen.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, one thing on discussion.
Effective.
Next meeting, which would be next
scheduled
Tuesday.
meeting. Well, if we have one the 10th, we don't know. That would be a special meeting. That won't be here. Our next scheduled meeting would be the 18th. 17th, sorry. So that would be when we officially are out of this room. And 17th. So, and then Mr. Casbera and Mr. Cutler have, you know, already kind of shown a layout that they just handed out to you of what this is going to accommodate this area, everybody in the downstairs. And I showed the board being even more proactive on the situation. I'm looking forward to, and you know what, there's more room there. So, can you do something about the chairs though, Bill? They better? We use them. Yeah. Okay, actually, our request is to leave this for the planning board, this whole table and the setup, because it's perfect for their large display plan, so.
Just a question, I don't know, but to go from today to occupying this room with telephones, computer links, so on and so forth, how long would that be?
It's just gonna be, office cubicles, and they'll have little electrical involved, hooking those up.
Phones?
Yeah, they've got.
Phones, IT.
Cat 5, all that. I talked to Bob about it today. There are many companies that sell used petitions. I
Right.
deal with them all the time, I'm sure you do too.
Yeah,
And you can get them at a very reasonable price, and then when you're done.
2 to 3 weeks.
So we'll let Bob run with that one, so it's
So,
motion by you, seconded by John?
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Thank you guys for everything, appreciate you coming. Stevie, be good.
Thanks, Steve. What do we had talked about this earlier, the AdCom meets here also, not
I
televised,
talked to
but
Paul, and he said he had no problem with it.
moving over to the high school as well.
Come to the library. I talked to planning board and Paul from AdCom.
I'll make arrangements with library or McGinty,
Yeah.
we'll
And-
figure out.
But our meetings are out of here on the 15th, the 17th, and they can schedule their meetings whenever they need to be.
Now, the library doesn't have cameras, right?
No, that's why we have to go to the media center. And you know what? And it's fine. We got two new rooms at the library. You got the McGinty room, and there's no saying they can't use the media center at the high school. I mean, they just have to schedule out, and that's the chairman's situation, you know? Okay? So, moving on, he's only 5 minutes behind schedule.
Well, do we have to address the memo that Bill Caspara just gave us on the options?
Basically, he just showed a layout of what he can do with this room, with the departments that are downstairs, and,
There's four workstations versus 6 workstations and removing the bookcases. Is that a detail that we don't need to?
Some, Bill and I can work through, we gotta work through financing with Randy and everything, so, you know, we can do that, and it's gonna take a few weeks to work through some of those anyway, so.
Would you need a vote from us, because there's dollars attached to both of these options?
Before we went anywhere, we'd come back to you either on the 17th or whatever with numbers. We'll work, you know, this week with Randy on that.
Okay, so this is just an FYI for now?
Yeah.
okay. All set, James? Okay, moving forward, we got the 8 o'clock new town man discussion. Obviously, we're going down a different road these days, trying to find a new town manager, so we've had Bob Cutler as our acting town manager now for a couple of months, and Bob, how have you been doing with that?
I'm doing okay with it. But I did inform Mark today before the meeting that I will not be submitting my name as permanent town manager. So you're going to be able to follow whatever process you guys want to follow, but I'll be happy to continue as acting until you select another one, but I'm not going to be pursuing that position.
Okay. Frank, is that clear? Bob just informed the board, we had a discussion earlier, that he is not going to pursue the town manager position, that he'd be happy to stay as acting town manager until the board has found a new town manager.
Thank you very much.
All right, so with that said, Lorraine has done some work on, what's the name of the firm, Lorraine?
it's the Collins Institute. It's out of UMass Boston. What I did research, I started off looking at the information that the last search committee had pulled together, and you know, looked at what worked, what didn't work. And the Collins Institute is a Commonwealth, you know, they're part of UMass Boston, so it's as a municipal type of entity. There's no procurement requirements with them. We don't have to go out for bid if we were to engage them. They can't participate as part of a bid process, but could be looked at off to the side of a bid process. But from a timing standpoint, I thought that was an important thing to consider. What they do is they actually are available to meet with us next Tuesday. If we wanted to talk to them, I thought they could give us a presentation of their services in a little more detail, and you know, get ideas from us what we had in mind for a process. For example, one example they gave me was that they do the initial search process. They come in, they meet with us individually, develop a profile for the town of the type of individual that's being looked for, the position, and then they do all of the search. They go through all the applications, and based on what we determine are the number of applicants we'd like them to bring to a screening committee that could be appointed. Say if we said, bring forward the 6 best candidates to a screening committee, which could be comprised of key individuals in positions in the town. I think the last time there was the town moderator, school superintendent, and other individuals who are active in politics in the town participated in that process. So then we could say to the screening committee, we would like you to bring forward, for example, the 2 best candidates that you can find. And then those interviews would be conducted publicly. We can't conduct interviews in executive session. So that would be the role of the screening committee. So that's an example of an approach that, I talked about with the contact over the phone. So I think it has some benefits. These people are skilled in executive search, and I think, again, looking at what worked and what didn't work from the previous time, I think it could probably help bring forward a really robust search process and bring forward some really good candidates. This is considered one of the premier town manager positions in the Commonwealth, just by the nature of its uniqueness. The small town with the very unique industries, a stadium, Invencis. So it's considered appealing to the town management group, and based on my discussion with this contact, he thought we would get some very good results from a search.
So, just so I understand, Lorraine, they will bring us 5 candidates, and then our committee would...
We would decide, as a board, how many candidates we would like them to bring to a search, to a screening committee. They'll do the search, they'll bring forward the qualified people to the screening committee, and then those screening people will do the
the 2 finalists or 3 finalists?
Right, the private interviews, and then bring forward the 2 or 3 for the public.
Okay.
And, I think at that point, that's where you basically, whatever you decide, if we want them to bring just the one, we could tell them, if there's someone who is head and shoulders above the rest of the pack, just bring that person forward. I've seen it go both ways, like when you look at the school committee recruitment processes, they've had that situation happen. So, I think it's a good opportunity. I think we should get some really good talent applying for the position, but I would like us to have the Collins Institute representatives come here and just, have a discussion with us to get more ideas and the questions that all of you may have, just out for discussion, so that we could figure out exactly what the course is that we want to do, how we want to proceed.
So this meeting on the 10th, if we have it, would just be for them to make a presentation on their capabilities.
Their capabilities, and then to have a discussion.
At some future point, you said they would interview each one of us.
Yes, they would do a minimum of an hour interview, they said, with each person. Again, looking to create that profile of the individual that we want recruited for the town of Foxborough.
Just the board members? Or?
Yes, just the
Okay.
board members.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry, I don't have my notes with me. There might be other key people that they would speak to.
Okay. Is that the path the board would wish to go down? Or would the board want to do their own, just advertise and do their own committee like prior years? I mean, I kind of like Lorraine's idea. I'd like them to bring us, we'll talk to them about bringing us 5, 6 candidates to a committee.
Well,
get it down to that, and then that committee.
we'll make that determination, but I think as far as a first step, to entertain a meeting with this group, just to get a sense for what they are and what they can do and
Right.
what their history is, I think that's worthwhile.
Mhm.
If we're not satisfied, we could decide on another course.
Can they send, do we need to do this on the 10th? Is there a reason, or can we do it in the next regular scheduled meeting? I'm just asking because
Well,
that's the only thing.
I'm worried
we have.
about we've got statutory reasons, we only have so many days
That's
to
why
get
I'm
this
asking,
done.
yeah.
You know,
You wanna go
if
for the
it-
10th?
Yeah.
Okay. I know, because I know you had some concerns.
Already cleared it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good.
All right, you've been blessed? All right.
So I'll confirm that with the contact and have them here for 7 o'clock meeting on the 10th.
Everybody agree with that?
Yep, and if they can get us some marketing stuff beforehand.
That's what I was thinking, if they could
Yep.
send us a packet, that's why I was kind of, do we have to do the 10th? Because they got to get this to us rather quickly. But I'm sure they can express mail it
They
overnight.
have
He'll
all
have
that
it,
stuff,
he
yeah.
has it.
This will be the only agenda item on the 10th.
At this point in time, that's it. But every time I say that, something else comes up.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, something else will come up, I guarantee. Randy, can you approach 1 second, please? As far as funding for this, just to elaborate, is this gonna be on the special town meeting funding?
This is for any search committee-related costs. The last time around, what we did is we requested a reserve fund transfer from the advisory committee. And I've already, in my recommendation last time around, when we reviewed the various costs of the transition, I isolated what those costs were, and my recommendation was is that we follow the same procedure, given the precedent we
So it's
have. Is
even-
just go right to AdCom, because I don't know that you want to lose too much.
So it's
too much
more on
ground.
AdCom, other than special town meeting, now we gotta put this on them too.
It's just it's a transfer request.
okay.
In fact, we've got transfer requests scheduled for the first meeting on the 11th.
Okay, great. So
So can this be added to that, or?
this is added.
It could be if the board wanted to do that.
But they would have to put that on the 10th and vote that the 10th as well.
Yeah, because we
The
can't
AdCom
vote on that
transfer.
tonight, because it's
Yeah,
not on
you
the
could
agenda.
vote it on the 10th, and you know, we've already prepared the the transfer document itself, so it's something that, it still would be timely.
Mark would sign as the
Yep,
chair.
authorizing that, this is a request of the board, just like I think Bob has another one for you.
Yeah, there's one on
Yeah,
tonight.
Right.
Okay, so we can, on the 10th, Bob, if we could have you and Lorraine talk, or, well, that's if the board, I kind of read and the board wants to do this. We could have this company come in, Lorraine will be in touch with you with all the contact information, and then we also add a funding transfer to that for the same reason.
And did
For
you
the
want
10th.
to talk a little bit to the board about their presentation of that to the AdCom? Do you need someone for the?
Sure, yeah, given that, I'm sure the AdCom will have a lot of questions, about the, this funding transfer. I mean, it's unavoidable. I mean, you need to go through.
Right.
Through a search process, but I'm sure they'll have questions, and I'm thinking, personally, I'm thinking that the best people to speak to it, unless you have a different opinion, would be a member of the board or members of the board to speak to that, as well as there's another transfer request for incremental amount for the acting town manager, so we can pay for those services. And I'm thinking in my opinion, unless I'll do whatever you want, is that member of the board or members of the board, present those to AdCom. Obviously, I'll be there to
Yeah,
present.
I'm-
I'll have others that I'll be
I'm
putting
actually,
forward myself that night.
I'm planning to be there.
John, can you handle that for the board?
What night is that?
Please?
Wednesday?
The 11th.
Was the 11th, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it, last I heard, should be on first, I think.
I mean, I was going to be, I usually attend the advisory
I know,
committee
Lorraine,
meetings.
you
Anyway,
guys
did-
historically have gone.
Do you
but-
think we should?
I think we need to
Post
post the
it?
meeting.
Yeah, I was just saying, we'll post the meeting, but John will represent the board, and you can all add in if it
Yeah.
ever. I mean, I'm not sure if I can get there. I don't know.
Yeah.
James, who
Yeah,
knows?
post it, and I think, there's a lot to discuss. If I was in the AdCom, I'd have a lot of questions.
And
so.
I think that expedite the whole process, because there's more than one article.
Right. And I can obviously speak to the, all the financial type questions. I think, there may be some, why questions that I'm probably not the best person to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Could you just take a
Can I-
second to,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to do.
yeah.
Oh.
A little disappointment is not the right word, but, Bob Cutler stood up at a time when we needed him, and he wore double hats, clerk and acting town manager. I was hoping that the job would entice him to put in your hat. You certainly have the institutional knowledge, you've got the integrity, you've got the legal background, and I think you would have made a great candidate. So I just wanted to, again, disappointment is not the word that I'm looking for, but it's along that, I think you would do a great job, and for whatever reasons you didn't want to do it, but I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you've done.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say too. We needed someone to calm the waters, and I think you did. And you will continue to do that until we find the permanent town manager. But I want to thank you very much because you took the bull by the horns, and I'm very thankful for the job you do.
I appreciate that.
I'll say the same, Bob. Thank you very much for stepping up, and I know it's been a challenging, just all these few weeks seem to have just flown by, but appreciate the work you've done. Thanks.
Appreciate working with you guys, too.
John?
I expected a different answer, but no, I respect your position. It was a hard call.
Well, you know, we all live with a different authority in life, and, you know, sometimes, you know, Bob, if you want to explain a little bit, I mean, he's at a point now where he's got a nice job as a town clerk. He's voted in. It's a pretty calming job. And to move on into this, it's a little bit more stressful than I think he wants. Ernie, you know, it's a tough job. And he's seen that. It's why he told the board he wanted to learn it. He's learning it. And you know what? I am disappointed. I think all of us are. I think he'd be a fine town manager, but maybe not this time, maybe another time around, maybe somewhere. But you know what? We'd be lost without you right now, and I'm glad you're here to the end, until the point where we get to find a permanent solution. And I think when we do have that small committee at the end, that Bob's learned the flavor of this town, even more so how the department's run. I think Bob can be an excellent candidate to be on that finalist committee, to have him, you know, probably chair it with 3 or 4 other individuals and bring the best candidate towards us, because he's definitely got his pulse on the community right now. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Board of Selectmen comments, post office comments. We have to mail these by the 4th. Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow. That's very simply done. If you guys do have comments, the reason I put it on today is, you know, we had the post office on last meeting. They indicated that if there were comments to be had, the comment period ends tomorrow. So I just asked Sandra to put this on for today's meeting, if the board had any comments about their proposed move. I just wanted to have it come from you and not me. I can certainly put your comments into written form and get them off by tomorrow, but I just wanted, you know, you to have that opportunity if you actually did want to do that.
John?
When the representative from the post office was here the last time, he stated that they're going to have a retail center, but he didn't know where. And I just want to clarify that there will continue to be a 02035, and that Foxborough zip code will remain, but they're just going to have rather than a back-end processing center, they're still going to have the post office that people have become accustomed to going to.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever get any clarification on location, or is that too soon to know?
I believe he indicated to me, and Bill Caspara was there as well, that their intention is to stay within the downtown, and they would just need to find a proper location. Whether one is available when they're looking, I don't know, but that was their intention. I believe 02035 is still going to be Foxborough, but we can mention that as well.
Maybe they want to buy into the new town hall.
Well, I mean, they would have considered, if timing worked and that location worked for town hall, they would have considered maintaining their retail space there with the town hall in the back. So that's something they would consider going forward, but that's not.
Well, that's not viable.
Right.
Maybe we'll put on a wing for them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. There you go.
How ironic if they decided to rent the property of the old post office.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
that would be.
Good point.
So I'll make that known, John, that you-
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if they can clarify what they intend to do with retail, and that Foxborough will continue to have its own zip code.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, John. Jan, Lorraine? Go in order. Anything?
No, I agree with what you're saying, John.
Well, because we talked do we need to repeat our concerns about the number of, the routes, that whether they would continue as they are? The way Mr., I forget what his name was, when the question I asked was, the route's going to be disrupted, and I got the impression he said they would continue the same, maybe a little change, but basically the same. So that would be my concern, that delivery standards would still be maintained.
Okay, thank you, James.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is, is there a benefit that the board sees to push the post office to not sell it and keep it in Foxborough versus Mansfield? What I'm hearing is we don't get tax dollars from it, we don't get excise from all the trucks that go in and out. If the routes stay comparable, I don't see a big loss for the distribution part going away, as long as the retail stays, so customers are not going to different towns or remotely to a part of, the end of Cabot on the Foxborough side. You want it in the town, so I think if the strength of the letter is, please respect the retail need of the town and keep it in a location that's near the center.
And he reiterated, when I asked about the post office boxes, that's considered retail, so the post office boxes should be remaining,
Right, what he indicated was what you see when you walk through that front door, everything there, stamps, all the other things that they sell, picking up your mail.
The P.O. boxes.
P.O. boxes, all of that is considered the front, and the
Yeah.
front would remain in the retail space.
And also, we have wall hangings in the new post office that were taken from the old post office that were from the 30s. And can we guarantee that the town of Foxborough retains them, even if not in the new post office space, at least have the town retain them, maybe give them to the Historical Society or something? Because those are pretty
Are they
significant.
paintings or?
No, they're like sculptures. I know they're wooden, it's from what I can remember.
I'm always in a rush when I
Straw,
go
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna notice
But
it.
whatever's hanging on the walls in that, I think there's some Homer White paintings in there too, right?
I'm not sure.
I would like if the town could retain those,
Mhm.
because they're significant to the town. That's why they moved them from the old post office to the new post office on Wall Street.
You should itemize those. Go down there, seriously, take some pictures and write down what's there that's from the old thing, so we can have a record of that.
Oh, okay,
I think it's important. I've never noticed it.
yeah,
Everybody good, James?
yeah.
Okay. I think that the town of Foxborough will retain a retail store. It needs to be in the center of town, not near the center of town. And I also think that location there is far better than the Mansfield location. I really do. I think it's easier to get to. I'm not just saying this in Foxborough, because that whole area in Mansfield is just so tough to get in and out around, especially when the train's getting in and out. You get a lot of train traffic, you get a lot more population in that area. I think it's a lot harder to access. So I think it would be better to keep Foxborough than to have Mansfield. I'm sure the Hornets don't agree, but that's just the way I feel. All right, anything else? Anything from the public on this? Seeing none, move on to merit pay acceptance. We had this discussion last
We had the
meeting.
discussion last meeting, and it's been brought to my attention that maybe the vote should come from the board. I'm not in total agreement of that, but in the essence of, working with the board instead of working against the board, I would entertain a vote of the board to complete the plan that I presented to you last week with regard to the 1.25% payout to the non-union personnel.
I wanted, before we move on, one of the reasons I voted against this when it first came out is because it was under solely the control of the town manager. So I disagree that it needs a vote of the board for this, because I remember that vividly. And we were basically saying, okay, we're giving all the power to the former town manager to judge and give pay raise to everybody. It was my number one reason why I voted against it.
Yeah,
So,
I thought we needed to take this, have the vote on record, because what we approved during the budget process was a merit plan, which was explained to us at the time, what it was going to involve. And what we have implemented is not that, what we had approved for the budget. So
You're
that it was
absolutely
ju-
right.
It was
It's
just
not.
to,
It's-
it was just to go on record that, we are approving a change in the budget plan that we had originally approved.
That's a good
why-
point, because
That's why I
it's-
wanted to have it on there. Because, I just didn't want us to be in a spot, months in the future when someone said, how did that happen? If someone says, how
But
does that
in
happen?
the future, the acting town manager would have control of this, or the new town manager, whoever the town manager is after this vote, if they ever get this in a state of
We have to have-
organization.
We have to have an organized plan brought
Right, we have
before
one,
us
right.
that we have to vote to approve.
Reason number two. So, I would actually like to put this on the agenda in the near future to discuss this, because it needs to be set up properly.
Oh, yeah.
It was never brought, it was just thrown at the wall, and I never liked the idea because of the way it was designed and the way I control over it solely. So I agree with you on that. So basically, you're just calling for a vote to reaffirm Bob's decision?
Yes, it's a change, well, it's because we've changed the budget that we had approved. We had approved a merit plan of a certain kind that was described to us, and now we are just giving an across-the-board increase. We're not doing a merit plan, so I just want to be on record that we are approving this change to an across-the-board
We're actually
increase.
approving a change to the use of the budget. Is the money not already there?
Money's there.
The money's there.
Right, so we're not altering the budget, it's the use of
Right.
the use of the funds.
Right.
So rather than being earmarked to a merit plan, it's now a
Across-the-board increase.
across-the-board pay increase or distribution.
I'm sure you prepared a motion then, Lorraine.
I would just, I move that we approve the change from the original merit plan to a uniform 1.25% increase for all employees in the personnel wage bylaw group. Is that correct?
The non-union.
Non-union.
The non-union, non-union. The eligible.
The eligible, yes.
Eligible,
Yes.
For just this time.
just this time, yeah.
For non-union employees that are eligible.
That are eligible non-union employees.
Okay. Any discussion?
The definition of eligible is that,
If somebody had disciplinary issue or didn't qualify at all, would that be
Now,
correct?
somebody under contract is, would not be eligible.
Right.
Yeah, some contract employees are not eligible, and then, it's also discretionary per the supervisor that if they have any discipline issues, they may not be eligible, or.
Randy, you want to come forward? So that people at home don't start calling me and emailing me, yelling at me because I couldn't hear any calls in the background?
I could hear him.
I mean, there are several unique circumstances, depending upon when the individual was hired.
Yeah.
They may not have been with us for the full year, they may have joined us after the year, they may have topped out on their step. They may no longer be with governed under the non-union personnel bylaws, et cetera. So there's a variety of circumstances, so eligible is important.
Okay.
but it's not a case of the previous town manager or the acting town manager using discretion on some aspects of this
No.
and not on the other, because the board is telling you that it's 1 1/4 across. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
More discussion?
Well, aren't we addressing like a problem because really the merit system really was not ready to be rolled out? And so this was the plan
This was
that.
the solution.
To take care of the immediate problem.
Correct.
With the idea of from this going forward, it is definitely going to be a merit pay system,
Correct. And we've
following all the rules and the
Right.
rules provide. Okay.
The committee
And-
has already met, and Cindy was away on vacation this week. She is back now, and we're going to get those forms done, roll them out, get them to you,
Yeah.
you know.
But what we're
Next,
but we're just voting is just to affirm that your plan to settle the problem that we had.
Correct.
Okay, once we vote this, it's settled. but the merit plan will go forward.
And we'll have it on the agenda in the next couple of months, Bob. Yep. If you could just put that on a
Yeah.
future agenda.
But while there's debate on whether or not Bob had to bring this to us or not,
Yeah.
I'm still glad that he did.
Yes, oh, definitely, yeah. But also, I can see going forward, revisions probably will have to be made, because once the plan is fully implemented, and then you're going to see things that maybe aren't working out the best, they can be changed or something like that. So I think we should be able, I would like to be able to revise, or go look at it, take another look at it, just in case there are revisions, like Mark suggested, in the future. So I leave that open.
Okay.
And just to clarify, when we approved the budget, it was on the fact that we were going to be presented what that plan was
Yep.
that was to be implemented at this time. So the money was in the budget, but the okay to pull the trigger on it hadn't happened.
Right.
So.
I understand.
Okay.
And I just, not to beat it, but I think it warrants saying our apologies to the people that worked hard to come up with their goals and objectives, to work hard, that think, and rightfully so, deserved a higher than 1.25 and didn't get it because the system, and that's what we're dealing with right now, is a system that didn't work.
Well said.
So,
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move forward to one action item, and I apologize. I should have done this an hour ago. Sean, would you
Okay, this is an
please?
action item concerning John F. Connolly, a request for appointment to the Veteran Services Advisory Committee for a term expiring on May 1st, 2014.
Okay, any discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. I meant to do that an hour ago, and then I got sidetracked. I apologize again.
Excellent candidate.
Anything else we can do for you while you're here?
Well, I did want to invite the Board of Selectmen to the third annual POW MIA Day coming up on the
21st and 2nd, correct?
4 p.m. Well, the vigil starts the 20th, the 24-hour vigil of the missing man table. And at 4 p.m. on the 21st is the actual ceremony on the common.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was already aware of that.
Bob, what time is that?
4 p.m.
4 p.m., okay.
What day of the week is the 21st?
Saturday.
Oh, beautiful, okay.
That's something that was created by an Eagle Scout, Johnny Mitchell, correct?
John Mitchell, he came to the Veteran Services Department and asked what he could work on for the Eagle Scout project. that
Just
would
grab the
help
microphone
benefit
for
the veterans, as well as the town.
Thank you, James.
Yes, John Mitchell came before the Veterans Department and asked what he could do for an Eagle Scout project that would help benefit veterans in the town, as well as the town itself. And Mike and I talked about it and realized that we had never done anything with POW MIA Remembrance Day, and that was a good project for him to take on that year. He did an excellent job at it, and we're going to continue with it as an annual event from now on.
Do you expect Rolling Thunder again this year?
Yes, we do.
Great, thank you.
Both Rolling Thunder and Legion Riders, both.
Excellent. Okay.
I just have a
Go ahead,
question.
Jane.
Are you going to have a flag retirement ceremony?
Normally, we do that with either the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts 2 or 3 times a year. And either Mike Johns or myself goes to their ceremony and talk about the history of the flag and why why it's retired and why it's burnt, and then they do this the flag burning ceremony from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could you notify the Board of Selectmen when that will
Absolutely.
be happening?
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
Okay.
You might just have to notify Troop 7 Scout Leader to do that, because that's who I've done it with, is the Scouts. So. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you. All right, going back to our regular agenda, town manager goals and objectives. Do you want to hold off on this now?
Yeah. I just have to add a couple more sets of figures, and then I'll bring that to the next
And
meeting.
I'll get you some tomorrow,
Yep.
Thursday.
Yeah. There you go, 8:40. All right. All right, next agenda will be special town meeting warrant. And I see a few people that might as well just come right up to the table. Mr. Garber and Randy.
$10,000 issue.
AdCom?
Personal wage.
You want to come up right at the table, because you're going to discuss this, so you might as well with Sharon, right? That way we don't have to keep going back and forth, and we can expedite the process. I think that's the right word, is it?
Whose microphone is echoing?
It's not.
Is it
Is it
yours?
mine?
Yeah, put it down.
How's that?
Better.
Okay. Everybody's yelling at me tonight.
Just a suggestion.
All right, let's, John, why don't you handle the articles? Go from start with number one. Give me a chance. Yeah, you can have mine. Give me a chance to,
You want to read them all?
we'll go through the whole 14, read them off, and then we'll just let everybody speak on behalf of their, that way I can take a
Okay.
rest here from talking.
All right. This is the legal notice of the town warrant, a special town meeting proposed for May the 21st of October. Article 1 is a budget adjustment to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds amounts requested to amend Article 4 of the May 14th, 2013 fiscal year 2014 annual budget in order to fund the expenses associated with 1, Norfolk County Agricultural High School supplemental assessment, 2, new town manager's salary, a half of a year, 3, health and Medicare insurance expenses associated with the new town manager, half year, as follows. Item 1, the department is state assessment, the department is county tax assessment. The budget, that's the budget as it exists now,
Yes, it's the assessment.
is $131,442. The adjustment sought is $40,000, bringing the revised fiscal year budget to $171,442, and the funding source is state aid. Item 2, Department 123, administration salaries. The current budget is $276,098. An adjustment of $84,808 is sought. The revised budget will be $360,906, and the funding source is state aid. Item 3, Department 915, health life insurance expenses. The current budget is $6,049,507. The adjustment sought is $8,046, bringing the revised fiscal year 14 budget to $6,057,553, and the funding source is state aid. I guess this is yours, Reggie.
Sure. The second and third items are probably the easiest ones for us to address, which is an adjustment to administration salaries for a new town manager. Again, with the obligations that we have, for the current contract, when a new town manager is hired, the assumption being, first week of January, there'd be no funds for a contract to be signed. So this would, allow the town to have some funds to sign a contract this fiscal year. And then the third item is just the associated health benefits, presumed to be associated with that position. So those are part of the cost that I had presented, I think, at the last meeting. And this is where you would fund this, would be from at a town meeting. The first item, I had written to the board about a month ago about all of the complexities going on with the Norfolk County Agricultural School and their funding challenges and all the various proposals that they had put forward. And the long and short of it is that Bill Euchen and I sat down with the superintendent, their business manager, and one of the county commissioners to really get a full in-depth understanding of what's going on. And what we uncovered in a nutshell is that due to the Chapter Acts of 1991, the Norfolk Aggie has the right to charge a tuition assessment beyond the tuition support that they receive through the county assessment, which is part of the state aid deducts. We have revenue in, and then we have assessments that we have to pay out. And one of the payouts is for the Norfolk County assessment, which covers all of the Norfolk County services that we share in, one of them being the Norfolk Aggie School. But in addition to that, the Norfolk Aggie has the right by law, 1991 Chapter Acts, allow them to supplement the tuition dollars that they receive through the county tax, as they need to. Even though they've had the right to make this assessment since 1991, this is only the fourth year in a row that they've actually had to do this because of a variety of changes in their circumstances. The primary one being is that the Sheriff's Department was removed from Norfolk County and was absorbed by the state. And there's a lot of revenue associated with that department, and so now there's less revenue coming in, being shared by Norfolk County, but many of the legacy liabilities, think of the things that we have to pay for, OPEB and pension, some of those have remained. In addition to that, they have done a major MSBA expansion of the school, and the debt service is coming online for that as well, and then they're coming to terms with their own OPEB liability as well. So as much as they loathe to make a supplemental assessment, they are finding the need to do so. We've received bills over the prior 3 years totaling about 170 some odd thousand. We have not paid them because we hadn't received any information from anybody as to why we should have to pay them. And so hence the meeting that Bill and I were able to finally have recently, and where we came to terms that we acknowledged the law. I've confirmed it with the Department of Revenue. Bill's confirmed it with the Department of Ed, that we are required to pay this bill. All of the other participants in Norfolk Aggie are paying this incremental bill. We were the last holdouts. Canton was the last one before us to hold out. And so that was the agreement, is that we would fund the bill. That it's $2,000 per student, so 20 students. We would fund this bill for this year, and if they wanted to pursue the prior 3, they could go for a past year bill and try to attempt to get a 9/10 vote. But we've told them that, and they're not coming forward with that. So that's the 40,000.
Very informative.
As far as the it's complicated. I'm sorry it was so many words associated with that one. As far as the funding for this, the state aid, as you may recall, we go to town meeting with our best estimates of what state aid is, and we have to finalize in late March, early April, and then the numbers don't finally settle until first week in July, or actually it was the second week in July this year. So we did better than planned in terms of the state aid that's been committed to us, to the tune of about $225,000. However, when you deduct the snow and ice deficit that we have to raise by law right off the top of next year's taxes, a planning number that we use, it's just our planning number of $250,000 was short by about 75 or so. So we've got about $148,000 of extra state aid this year that we did not commit, that is available without tapping new funds, free cash, et cetera, to fund these budget supplements.
Okay, great.
You say, I'm sorry, 148,000?
Approximately 148,000 when you net the incremental state aid that's available to us, less the snow and ice deficit.
Important that it's on the special.
Yes, because if you had to wait till May to fund the, in particular, had to fund the in essence, the town manager, salary and related expense, you wouldn't be in a position per se to sign a contract other than subject to future appropriation in May.
So priority, number 1's a priority. Okay, number 2?
Okay, Article 2 is an unpaid bill, and Randy, you probably have to give this one some definition.
Sure. It's actually, there's 2 of them.
Well, let me read it then.
Sure.
Okay. To see if the town will vote to fund a retroactive pay adjustment approved by the Board of Selectmen for the acting town manager for the last pay week of fiscal year 13, and to raise and appropriate $1,126.40 from available funds to meet said appropriation or take any other action related thereto. And I think you need to explain why that's an unpaid bill.
Sure. This was a vote of the board to compensate the acting town manager for the work that he had been doing in the prior fiscal year, which is in June. Our fiscal year ends June 30th. And any bills that haven't been accounted for when we close our system, close our books, which they are closed, has to be brought forward as an unpaid bill and brought forward to a town meeting. There's no other way to get an unpaid bill paid. It's considered unpaid because you can't use current year funds to pay for a prior year's expenditure. That's sort of the municipal mechanics that we have to operate with, and we have to respect the integrity of the votes that are made at a town meeting. These funds are meant for, for this year's purchases, et cetera. So this is a modest amount. It was the incremental amount for the acting town manager for that 1 week. That is, it technically falls into that category, of an unpaid bill. And it was supported and voted by the board, and we just want to, be fair with that pay to the acting town manager.
Okay.
Can I just ask that you capitalize acting, so it says acting town manager? It's right, it says acting
'Cause
small
his-
a.
His title is acting town manager.
Right, just so, people will see that.
And the second part of this is to see if the town will vote the fund for fiscal year 2013 unpaid bill totaling $22,450 from CDM Smith, Inc., related to post-closure landfill monitoring services. Guess you could explain that.
Sure.
Landfill?
Yeah, it's related to the landfill. These are annual engineering cost bills, and for reasons unexplainable, these bills did not make it forward from any department for payment. I think they were, discovered on a desk, and they did provide the services. They were provided last year. And so it's services that were rendered, and, we are obligated to pay the bill. It's just unfortunate that the entire, I think there's another $8,000 associated with the annual service here, all but that first bill of $8,000. The other three bills that came in, they never came forward.
Now, a bill like this would have been in the budget, and now that it goes unexpended, it will go back to free cash, I'm assuming that.
No, this would have been been paid out of landfill.
Right.
And, landfill, solid waste enterprise. The solid waste enterprise is contained, and so any dollars not spent in that account revert right down into the retained earnings. But at this point now, we're down to $3,000-4,000 in retained earnings. So this now would have to, and we knew this going forward, all new bills or all remaining bills associated with landfill, hazardous waste cleanup, with the exception of this year, or pickup, that the annual pickup that's done at the DPW would have to be factored into the highway budget now. Now that we've gotten out of the collection business. That's all, the billing for that's handled separately, so any other remaining costs are being absorbed within there, all have to be absorbed in other places. So this is one where we were hoping that the solar project, would be, would be in, would have some progress on that, and so any FY14 bills, if we were gonna sign an FY14 contract, that would have been part of the deal that would have been negotiated, would be for the, whoever won that contract to pick up these bills going forward. This happens to be last year's bills.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, Article 3 is Town Hall plans to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds $550,000 to pay the cost of hiring engineers and architects.
I'm sorry, can we just go back to 2? Are we doing Article 2? Is that time sensitive? I know the first part was.
Yeah, I got, it's time sensitive, I kind of got that.
Yeah.
The work's been done and they haven't been paid, so
In both counts.
I think it's very.
All three, the 1, 2, and 3 definitely part 2 of time sensitive, so.
Yeah.
And I don't want to beat something that doesn't need to be beat, but the same reason I said something to Dick when he said money that reappears. When he hears a statement that says it's unexplainable why a bill hasn't been paid, I got to ask, how is something for $22,000 unexplainable?
It's a good question, and I hate to, I'm not in the scarecrow business, pointing fingers, but it was found on somebody's desk, and they, got buried, got lost on somebody's desk. Not one to
Okay.
put forward
Well,
who that
there were-
was, but there was somebody's desk, and it got buried on a bunch of papers.
Well, usually, is this bill, is it usually 22, around 22,
Yes,
every
usually
year?
It's around the same, yeah.
So there was, at one time, this money was in the account, but it was used for something else?
No, it was, again, we were in, last year was the wind down year for the landfill, for the solid waste account. So, there are several wind down costs, buying back all those stickers and, we, in the transition, and there were costs that, where we would have collected incremental revenue to cover these costs that are actually town costs, not necessarily related to the picking up of, residential trash that would have been covered in that revenue stream, but that revenue stream, there was no revenue stream in fiscal 13 for this. It would have eaten up, if the bills were paid, timely as they came in, then it would have just meant that there would have been less dollars available. If you go back to the warrant, the May town meeting warrant, we show costs incurred in other departments under solid waste for the various remaining costs associated with that operation, where we charge those costs, like household hazardous waste pickup day and the disposal of other hazardous waste in that area. So we have enough money in the solid waste enterprise account to cover that for this fiscal year. But if these dollars got paid first, we wouldn't have all that money in that account, and we probably would have done something different, like charge the amount that we would have been short, which would have been this amount, to the highway department. So between the jigs and the reels, it's all ultimately gonna have to come out of the highway department going forward.
So going forward, something like this won't happen? Because the department will be aware that, there's a 22,000 bill somewhere.
I think the bills are
You know,
gonna
it
have to
hasn't
be
been-
redirected to, I was surprised at the name that was on the bill, that they were going to. It was odd that the bills are going to the individual that they were going to. We just need to make sure that they're going to the department that's responsible for paying the bills.
Okay, can we move on?
Okay, Article 3, we talked about earlier this evening, which is the article to, for $550,000 to pay the cost of hiring engineers and architects for a new town hall.
Okay.
Do you need any discussion on that?
I don't think we need more discussion on that tonight.
The only thing I want to say is, this money has been set aside from past attempts to fund this project, and so it's not secret money. Randy's had the money available, and I just wanted to make that clear, so.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that, and I appreciated Jim's comments earlier as well. And to be, crystal clear about it, these funds have been sitting up in the capital stabilization account for several years, and when the CIP committee meets, typically at the annual meeting in March, and we talk about all of the funding sources that are available, this is not one that's kept in the back. I think there are several people around this table who sat on that committee and are aware that, I always point to this, to this funding, that it is available, and the committee, has the right to propose to use it as sees fit. And the recommendation, has always been that this would be the soft cost money for this building project. There's been no secret about that.
Randy, this money was from, one year there was a large surplus.
Yes. Yeah, there was a
And
lot-
the advisory committee voted, or the town voted to put this aside into a stabilization account.
Exactly. There was a significant amount at the end of the year that was unexpended, and the thinking was, let's lock it into a place that requires a 2/3 vote to put it in and a 2/3 vote to take it out, because it was a large sum of an excess amount in a particular budget, and so that's where it's remained ever since, with the intention that it would go to something just like this, big one-time cost that we have. And this isn't necessarily what the cost of this work might cost, but we need to protect ourselves in terms of having enough funds to be able to award a bid. It's typically, Bill was running the numbers on me, they're typically percentages of certain aspects of the project, and, so this still might be, high by 50, 100,000 if we get lucky, And, those funds, would come, I would recommend that those funds come back to stabilization, unless they're needed for, another part of the project. But if they're voted for this article, they can't go to anything else unless we reappropriate them at the town meeting. So, we're hoping we'll come under this. It's not, we're not waving the amount around that we're gonna fund. This is just to make sure that we have enough to award a contract.
Okay. Any other questions on 3? Moving on, John?
Okay, I'm going to abbreviate this one. This is, Article 4 is concerned with the DPW Administrative Office Building. The total anticipated cost is $600,000, and the funding sources will be $536,791 from Water Enterprise retained earnings, $63,209 from Sewer Enterprise retained earnings, and the general fund will contribute $213,335 over a 5-year period, and the payback from Water Enterprise Fund will be $64,000 in fiscal year 2015, $53,000 in fiscal year 2016, $43,000 in fiscal year 17, $32,000 in fiscal year 18, and $21,335 in fiscal year 19.
We're lending you money, Bob?
Well, we've been paying you guys rent in Town Hall for God knows how long, so now the shoe will be on the other foot.
You sure you don't want to be part of the new town hall?
Yeah, why don't you go?
Sure. This was the equitable way to distribute the costs of, allocate the costs for this project, estimated at $600,000. And the approach that was taken was to look at the salary dollars associated with all the administrators who would occupy these offices, the DPW offices, and their salary associated with Water Enterprise employees, the allocated amounts of those employees to sewer, and then there's also, highway, tree and park administrative folks as well, which is a general fund administrators. So based on, the respective salaries, and it was a discussion that we had at the CIP committee, and everybody, there's a dozen ways you could try to slice this, but it seemed to be, a reasonable approach. The ratios of which fund would pay what, and Water Enterprise, Sewer Enterprise, and General Fund were divided as such. And as far as this, the Water Enterprise fronting the General Fund share of $213,000, that's taking a page out of the book of what was done with the Mill Street property, but just sort of in reverse. If you recall, when the Mill Street property was purchased for $1.5 million, the Water Enterprise Fund contributed $300,000 over 5 years, given that part of it was water protection, considered water protection area. So this is sort of the same approach, but in reverse, $213,000. And the way that this is done is actually relatively painlessly. We do charge the water and sewer enterprises overhead, insurances, administrative costs, et cetera, which is in excess of $500,000 a year. So the cleanest way to do this is to provide a credit to that allocated overhead costs over the 5 years on a declining basis, which is the same basis we did with Mill Street.
Bob, you said there was an urgency to this?
Well, yeah, we're looking to vacate Town Hall. And if you're gonna be doing something with Town Hall, we need a place to move to, so that will suit that purpose. So I think they go hand in hand.
Good point.
Bob, this would also address, there's equipment being stored up in the old fire station there. Would that be addressed by this building?
No.
That's administrative building
Yeah,
only.
this
Just
is
administrative.
administrative offices only.
No garage.
No garage, no storage.
I think it was you evaluated many different options, and this was
Yeah.
the most cost-effective and
We,
long-lasting.
They actually calculated how much it would cost to keep us in Town Hall, and I believe that cost was about $800,000. So by building this building, which is going to be a modular building with an expected lifespan of 40 years or greater, we'd be saving $200,000 off the Town Hall project by vacating it. In addition to that, when people who have been down to the water department know that we're, have outgrown that space dramatically over the last several years. So this will give us the space to make us more efficient and get all the people working in that department under one roof. Currently, we bring highway department people who are being cross-trained in the water department into our offices. If we can get them all in the same place at the same time, it'll add a lot of efficiencies to the operation.
Okay.
And currently, Roger Hill doesn't even have a desk.
He's always on the road, he doesn't need one.
Yeah, his desk is his truck.
Go ahead, Jane.
Oh, I've been to the water and sewer meetings. I missed tonight's and I missed the week before, but all the other meetings that I've gone to, the price was $500,000. At what point did you add $100,000 and how come?
The last price I heard was $650,000, so I believe they dropped it by 50.
I've always heard 6 myself, so.
I've always heard 5.
Oh.
No. Not today.
Good.
James?
This was presented at the CIP, and the questions that came up, there's going to be a site plan approval process to review the buildings and where they go on the site and the context of the building, what they look like. Question was raised, by doing this, does it lessen the burden of the town hall? Is it going to be smaller now? I don't think these water and sewer DPW space was ever in the town hall. It was separate, correct?
Very
The
close.
new town hall.
At the very beginning, it was in, just before Roger Hill had joined, the town here. So at the very beginning, we did multiple passes of the functional space requirements. So in the first one it was in, I don't know if it was in the second one, meaning water and sewer offices, but when Roger came in, he introduced the concept that no, we need to centralize the DPW administration, and it was gonna happen down on Elm Street. So in the second or third iteration out of about 6 with the functional space work that KBA did, we then removed water and sewer
From the square footages, okay, that's what I thought.
Which would lessen the price of the building,
Yep.
no matter what.
Yep. And then the other thing, the timing is such that if this goes forward to town meeting and built, it's not going to alleviate, water and sewer staff are leaving this building, but it's not going to allow the people to come from the basement and over because the timing's not right, right?
We were anticipating this happening a lot sooner than it's now, the timeline that it seems to be on now. And we had looked at a sort of reshuffling of the offices at the time. So we had already anticipated, and I'm happy to work with Bob to re-review that, see if it still makes sense. Anticipated reshuffling and moving 3 offices around to take advantage of that space, one being from downstairs, and then 2 others on this floor that need larger space. So we had already incorporated that into the jugglings of the space here.
In the last point, in this meeting is just to see if they go on the warrant article, not if we're in favor or not. So the item the comment I brought up at the CIP meeting was back when we decided that the DPW was the way to go, bringing water and sewer, tree and park, and highway together. There was a spreadsheet and an analysis done on the cost effectiveness and looking at through attrition, staffing, and secretarial and space, square footage and space and all that stuff. And what I said to Roger was I'm not supportive of this until I can see a breakdown of where we are now versus where we anticipated we were going to be, rather than just building a building and moving people. How is this in the original numbers? And it may be more or less, but to see that analysis, if you remember when we voted for the DPW merger, it was kind of a 2-step process. Let's do it to see how it works, and then we'll finalize it. I don't think this board ever got back a final analysis of how that merger is on the long run on the cost analysis. So at the same time this comes up, I would expect to see that analysis.
Okay.
So that's your water and sewer, you're a piece of it, but
Yep.
it would be under Roger Hill's tasks to do, to get my support of this anyways.
Okay, good. Anything else on that one? Next.
Okay, Article 5,
Is it on or off the warrant?
We haven't decided whether it's gonna be on or off the one. We're just deciding the priority of it right now, but I would say not if Jimmy has his say unless he gets a breakdown or something.
Well, I don't want to predicate the decision on that one, I mean, 1 out of 5.
Right.
The first 3 are on, right?
First.
Yes.
We haven't voted on any of them yet, we're just getting an explanation what they are. We're just saying prioritizing is what we're doing right now. Nobody's voted on any article to be on the warrant yet at all.
I think the question that's being asked is it critical timing-wise to go in October
Bob
or
said
November?
yes, and I believe he had a good explanation. So those first four,
All right, Article 5 concerns the sewer service area, and Sharon, this is looking to approve a map of the sewer district?
Yes, Bob.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're identifying the serve, it's not a district. The 3 towns, as the IMA, constitutes the district. But each town has to identify a sewer service area. And what we're going to be doing is presenting a map that lays out the existing users in the sewer system. In addition to that, we're working with the planning board to identify an area around the center of town. I believe it's about a 2-block area surrounding the center of town, to add that to a service area, to present it to the town meeting so they can vote to approve it. And it will be only existing properties that are currently on the sewer system and the area identified by the planning board around the center of town, based on their input from the master plan and the desire to get storage around the center of town to help aid in its revitalization.
Do you have to have any public hearings on this, or?
No.
No, okay.
So is the planning board area incorporated in this article, or is that a separate?
No, it's the areas that are currently constituting the sewer area and the downtown area.
Right, so the area that the planning board is concerned about in regard to flow and everything,
understand
that's incorporated in this. So it doesn't have to be 2 separate votes, that's incorporated in this. And if that's the case, does this have to have a 2/3 vote or a majority vote?
It's just a plan, it's not a zoning or anything like that, so it's just a
why
majority
I'm
vote.
wondering,
It's
why is it,
identifying the district,
why is it an article, though? Why?
The service area.
service area, excuse me.
Okay.
It's an article because the IMA is requiring that each of the towns identify their sewer needs. And so that's what the plan would do, right, Bob?
Correct.
And you need this right away.
The IMA is going forward, and we need to get all the ducks in a row. Mansfield, I believe, has a special town meeting, and they're looking to approve the IMA or give their Water and Sewer Commission the ability to sign it, and unless this document is complete, and this is part of that document.
No, you're saying you're not gonna be ready for October with this, though? Because, I mean, it's looking like the board, and I'm just gonna kind of read minds here. It's looking like the board is gonna say, we're gonna choose so many and move forward. So if you're saying you're not gonna be ready,
We'll have
that-
this map ready. It
but
would be
then
preferable.
AdCom has to review it. See,
AdCom
the
needs
way
to
I look
review
at
both of
these
these
first
articles.
5 articles, AdCom can review.
Yep.
I mean, if you were listening right now, and some of them probably are, they probably get a good idea of what's going on right now. I mean, we've pretty much debated every article into this one in front of us today, so it's probably an educational process here. But this one, you don't have anything set in stone for us right now, is all I'm saying, Bobby.
This map's gonna be ready within a week or 2.
Okay.
It's being finalized right now. We will have a map ready if the town meeting is in end of October, but it would be preferable that we had more time to vet it with the public, get it out there, and get the information out there. But if the town meeting is on October 26th, we'll just have to get it done.
21st.
21st, I'm sorry.
All right. Everybody's making their little list, yes and no, so we'll figure them out.
Sorry.
Respectfully, if I could say Articles 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are zoning articles. And the general law provides that once we have published the notice of the public hearing, it affects a zoning freeze, if you will. So whether it's October the 21st or any time within the next 6 months, that's not time critical. The fact that the advertisement was in the reporter last Thursday, created a zoning freeze with regard to these articles. So I know my board is very passionate about moving ahead with their articles, but in terms of time criticalness, the zoning freeze has been created by virtue of the advertisement. So whether it's voted on October the 21st or March the 21st, as long as it's within 6 months of the date of the first advertisement, we're okay.
So we can have obviously,
So we would have to have another special.
and like we did
Or
in the
we'd
past.
hold a
in
second,
March.
or we'd re-advertise the hearings to get to the annual.
Okay.
The board did want Article 9, which is the brew pub, which is kind of part of the downtown zoning. Their sense was that was the flag they were sending up to see how people felt about the downtown. So that if you were inclined to do any of these 6 zoning articles, I think their sense would be do a brew pub. But again, the fact that there was legal advertisements in the Foxborough Reporter last Thursday, and they will be in this Thursday, and the public hearings are held September the 12th, all of which we did in anticipation of giving AdCom as much time as possible, creates a freeze. So does it matter if they're voted on October 21st or November 21st or December 21st or January 21st or February 21st? No. There's a
By
6-month.
March.
There's a 6-month period.
So what about the article looking for the? 'Cause-
These are 6 zoning articles.
Right, but what about for the funding for the
Basin.
grant?
I'm sorry?
The grant for the.
That's
Article 12.
Article 12 and 13. We're
Okay.
dealing with 6 through 11.
Okay, so what I'm saying, so 6 and 11 you can deal with being put off, and we're gonna have to have another meeting before March 21st, is what she's saying. So.
Or she could re-advertise.
If it went beyond March.
Okay, all right, so we can, that helps us out greatly, I mean, here, that really helps us out.
And if you really want to help the planning board out, let them raise their flag on the downtown and see what people think about changes.
As it relates to the master plan.
As it relates to the master
So-
plan and the downtown.
So you
rezoning.
need 9, and then you need 12 and 13.
Let me ask you a question about 9. It seems very specific for a zoning article. Is there somebody in mind, or says somebody approached the town saying, I'd like to put a brew pub in town?
No, in doing, going through the master plan and the public listening sessions, we're crafting an entire mixed-use district in the downtown. And the thought was, what new use might there be in the downtown that could be a catalyst for this new mixed-use district? They hit on the idea of housing above, 2nd and 3rd story housing. That isn't anywhere near ready, but this piece, this very specific piece about the brew pub was ready. And secondly, Mr. Casbera has had people approach him about microbrewery situations, which is what the section first delete existing B1 and insert the following addresses. So, and I personally, if you guys want to wait, no problem, but
Has anyone looked into the liquor license issue?
other
that?
than,
Are there any available, or is that legislation that would have to get it in hand with
There's
this?
nothing available.
Right now, there's not one available.
right now.
All right.
Can I ask a question? The planning board articles that have been presenting, it says Board of Selectmen for the planning board. I thought we had a policy where the individual boards and commissions would take ownership of their own articles. So my question is, why is the Board of Selectmen presenting this for the planning board?
I think
They
we-
were submitted by the planning board.
They say planning board on my copy. Do you have a
Yeah.
It
different
says
copy?
Board of Selectmen for the planning board.
The copy I have says.
That
They
was
say
a council
planning.
convention, town council convention.
No.
Yeah, but I thought I thought that was one of the things we
It would definitely just
discussed.
be planning board. It would definitely be planning board. That's just
But I
kinda-
thought that was one of the things we discussed
We
last
did,
year.
but obviously somebody didn't get that memo, and this is why it's a rough draft, so we can move forward. It's only a rough draft. This is not,
So can we just say this is presented by the planning board?
But it is,
yeah,
it's already
just
been
a plan.
changed.
It's been changed into a
it changed.
copy.
In ours, it wasn't
You're
changed.
looking at
But ours was
another
Friday,
Okay.
so.
Can you make notations on, like, well, this is obviously, I have the first one, you have the second revision.
First draft, second
Yeah,
draft.
can we have that printed on the upper right-hand corner all the time?
Sandra
Someplace.
wrote on them today, so you had an original one in your package, you
Right.
should have got another one today.
No, I
You
didn't.
Okay. Well, I have copies
Well,
of
we
those.
got a whole bunch of stuff we don't know about, but all right, we gotta kinda step it up here.
So that's 6 through 11.
And 12 and 13, you definitely need.
12 is the park grant.
Yeah,
13 is to adopt Mass General Laws 4081U, so that for defaulted subdivisions, the law provides that the planning board has to go to town meeting to expend monies they've gotten in surety that's been surrendered to the town because somebody defaulted. The general laws approximately 25 years ago was changed to allow the planning board to do that with a vote of the Board of Selectmen, which is considerably less time-consuming for everyone. So we would like 12 and 13.
okay. That, we have, how many, I don't have it in front of me. 'cause
July
I forget-
14, the last one is a
Scenic road,
scenic, to designate Cross Street as a scenic
That
road.
can wait. That can wait.
well, I don't know if the folks on Cross Street think that, but
Where did this come from? Was this from the people on Cross Street?
it's a couple of the planning board members came up with that.
But it's something that can definitely wait to the annual or
think
something.
so.
mean,
I would think
We
so.
got, right now, we got 8 for AdCom to deal with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Is that, yeah, 8. So I think that's,
Seven,
very,
I think.
7.
1 through
The original
5
5, 9.
plus,
Not, but I don't think
9,
9.
12, and
You're
13.
not gonna do that, okay.
Oh, you're not doing 9, all right, so,
Yeah,
I-
9, 12, and 13.
I thought you said 9. You don't want 9?
yeah, I would like to do
All right,
9,
so I mean,
but I'm fine with waiting on it.
Well, you know what, I don't think, I know we're all a little bit more up to date on a lot of these situations, but I don't see a whole lot here that's gonna crush too much time as far as the available time we have for the 21st. Larry, would you agree this is some? Well, we just went through the whole thing.
I mean, Mark, I can only tell you, this is my 7th year on the AdCom, 2 as chair. Some of these we did last year, and they took weeks and weeks and weeks. We have a bunch of new members, so we're going to need to do the same work again. I just don't see how it's possible. So think about it. We have 4 weeks, because we have to finish 2 weeks before town meeting to get our recommendations to the newspaper. So we have 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks, we're really just orienting new members. Randy's going to come in, he's going to tell them about Proposition 2.5, he's going to tell them about town finances, because these people probably don't know any of that. And they really need to understand that to be able to vote on these. So that leaves us with 2 more weeks. How could we possibly do 8 articles in 2 weeks? We don't even consider an article and vote on it the same night.
Mhm.
That's against our rules. So it just seems to me the arithmetic here is just.
Well, I'm just saying, what do you see the bogged down article being? Because, I mean, I really don't see the transfers being.
The transfers are going to be hugely controversial, Mark, because it deals with the town manager. Everybody has a million questions about that.
Okay.
Right? So we're gonna spend a lot when we get to
Well,
Article 1, we're gonna spend a huge amount of time on that. And I would, before I forget, I would advise you to add the 2 reserve fund transfers to this warrant in case they don't pass at the advisory committee. You're gonna need to have those in this warrant if they don't pass, right?
Randy, you agree with that?
If we're going to have funding for, those 2 items.
Right.
Yeah, that's the next,
Right.
that's the next place to get them funded. So that would be an expansion of the budget adjustment.
Right.
But I mean, that can be decided, the meeting's next week, correct? So.
Yeah,
those can
but,
be
so the
added
meeting
on.
will be next week, but we won't vote until the following week.
Same article, we can expand Article 1.
So
You're
Larry,
not gonna vote the AdCom transfers next week?
Not next week. We never vote the night that we first see any issue. That's against our rules, unless it, if there was some big emergency, but, and people's lives depended on it, but that's clearly not the case, so.
so Larry, you're looking at the date of the town meeting for October 21st.
Right.
What if it were pushed back to the third week in November 18th, which is what we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly gives us more time. I mean, I don't want to speak for Paul, but it's not comfortable, but it's definitely better than,
Yeah.
because normally we wouldn't be able to work over Thanksgiving week anyway.
Yeah.
So we lose Thanksgiving week, and then we'd have another week, and then we'd have town meeting usually, so
Yeah.
we might lose a week.
Yeah, and I understand and I think most of the people on the board, 4 of the 5 of us have been on AdCom. And I know when I was on AdCom, I looked at my job is to do the homework for the citizens who show up at town meeting. So they could rely on the recommendations of the
Right.
advisory
I
committee.
mean, just sitting here
And-
tonight, I had to stop myself from, I have 100 questions on
Yeah.
these things, and you know how it is. I mean, you all know how it is.
And right off the bat, I would prefer to have a meeting on November 18th rather than October 21st.
Okay. John?
Yeah, we've all been through it. I mean, I'm sympathetic with the plight of AdCom to do a good job for the citizens of Foxborough. If you go back to a lot of town meetings, I think the advisory committee is highly respected and the citizens look to it for guidance. I said earlier tonight that Selectmen, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, said we'll never rush another one at you, we'll give you plenty of time. I know that probably a few articles could be done, maybe 3 in a 2-week span, but that still doesn't give you any time for research.
Yeah, certainly not town hall. I mean, town hall is a multi-night discussion, for sure.
So if anything, I know that it puts a squeeze on the rest of the process, and it's a we'll give a little here, squeeze a little here, but I think we do have this standing committee, and it's there for a reason, and I think to not allow it to fully vet these articles, we're taking an end around our governmental process. So I'd be in favor of moving it to, what did he say, the 3rd week or the last
Second,
week?
he
The
said
Second or
second
third.
week of November?
Well, he said second or
11th
third.
is a legal holiday.
That's Veterans Day, right?
Well, we don't have to have it on the 11th.
The 4th, November 4th.
No, that would just give them 2 weeks, so, yeah, so you're saying
It's
yeah,
2
3 to
extra
2.
weeks.
All right, so, well, we see how 2 people feel. How do you feel, Lorraine?
November 4th, I'd prefer.
That's going to be really tight, though. I mean, so the other thing I'll point out, I think I heard Randy say that the $550,000 is going to require a 2/3 vote. That's a high bar.
Mhm.
And if last year, we met 3 times about just town hall, and after the 3rd one, I polled the board and asked, is anyone on this board, and at the time, I think there were 13 of us, asked if anyone was in favor of it. No one raised their hand. And I don't think that that's so much because they're against town hall, but it was just we didn't feel like we had all the information that we needed. And that's going to happen again. And if we go to town meeting and AdCom is unanimously against it, and you need a 2/3 vote, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Well, one of the roles
You know?
of the advisory committee is when they've taken a position, they go in front of town meeting and actually try to sell
Right.
the warrant.
Okay,
Right.
well, I'm just trying to get timeline.
So I'm just trying to get as much time as we can to do a good
Well,
job.
I would hope AdCom wouldn't be bogged down, except for the concept of the new town hall at this point in time. I would hope that.
Well, I think that the 600,000 for the water and sewer, that's brand new.
I know,
We've never
I'm
seen
saying
that.
just that the situation that we're focusing on, the committee is voted and the board has voted to go with the new one. So I would hope you wouldn't be sidetracked at your meetings by entertaining other plans and other opinions,
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
that's not my decision.
But
I was
you're
gonna
right,
do
Mike,
that
does
last year.
simplify it.
Yeah, but I was gonna do it last year. You know, we had a meeting set up, because what we wanna do when we get to town meeting is, we don't want citizens getting up and asking us about that other plan and not having the answers.
Right, but it's gonna happen no matter what you do. I'm just trying to say, you know, it's been 3 years now of getting the naysays versus this say. It's gonna happen no matter what you say, but I think the focus on town hall has to stay on the plan that has been set forth. And I really don't think there's gonna be as much as a brouhaha as people think on the concept of new or remodeling. I think everybody's kind of focused now on new. So I would hope that AdCom.
We were last year too, though.
Exactly, so I hope that's what you focus. The building, I understand with the water and sewer. But moving on, James, what do you think about a date?
We're stuck between a rock and a hard place. By moving it back, we give the AdCom obviously more time. And it's gonna be too tight for town hall. But moving it back, if we're talking the 21st to November 4th, we're only talking 2 weeks.
You still have 6 months plus. You still have 6 months plus.
Yeah.
And then to Dick's idea about going out early to get the.
Yeah.
That
So-
Well, Bill already said he had planned on doing that anyway, so.
So if we push it off from the 21st of November 4th and push the permanent building committee to expedite it as much as they can, I'm concerned that the advisory committee on the 4th is gonna be saying, in no disrespect to the
Yeah,
AdCom.
we may not
because
get
we've
to
had-
something. That happened last year.
It's too much in a
Right.
short period of time.
Right, that happened last year where we just couldn't get to an article.
So what about the 18th? You think that's?
Well, another week at that point, you know, you're talking 2 weeks.
That'd be
You
2
add
weeks.
one for one more article. I don't see that even happening. I mean, this is why I want to simplify this. I really wanted to just have you focus on a couple of goals and get it done. Have 2 special town meetings. We can get it all done. If we focus on the first 3 for October 24th, first, I think you got ample time.
But I think
And
that's
then-
what we were hoping to do, but we have elected
Right.
elected boards saying their articles are
Right, but I'm saying, why
time-sensitive.
can't we have 2 special town meetings? I've been saying it all night.
When's the second one would
I would
probably have
say
to be in
first week
January.
December.
No, we just wouldn't be able to do it.
You know,
We're gonna
guys,
be into-
I
we're
don't
gonna be
mean to
into
be
November.
disrespectful. You know, I was on the AdCom, I was the chairperson. We did this, and if you had to have a second meeting in a week, you had a second meeting in a week.
Bob,
You're talking about a 4-week period. You're not talking about 6 months where you're doing it every other day. Yeah, I mean, and you're only talking 9 articles. If you can't dispose of 5 or 6 articles in a meeting, I don't understand what the
This
problem
is
is.
no longer how the AdCom works, Bob.
Well,
We
but then
don't.
maybe
We
that's a
spend-
problem. Maybe that's a problem.
It's not a problem. It's an asset to the town, and I think you can see it at town meeting.
It was an asset in the town 30 years ago when I did it. It was an asset at the town 50 years ago when other people did it. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but maybe it's the way it's being operated. I don't know.
Well, we're an independent board, Bob, and we have to do it the way that we think it needs to be done. No disrespect intended, but,
Okay.
you know.
You know, I think that's tough because it's just gonna get worse. I'm getting to that point myself. What do you want to do? What date do you want?
My concern is what happened 30 years ago versus the way it is now. It's kind of, it's too late to be arguing that right now. What the voters are gonna, whether they come, you know, whatever week that they come, if the AdCom is not ready to make a recommendation, and a lot of people don't read the stuff and get involved, they rely on the AdCom if they're gonna be saying we didn't have enough time, whatever warrant article, you know, it's a long shot that it's gonna get approved.
Well-
And I said this at the last meeting, we can all raise our hand as selectmen and say we support it, but we're only 5 votes on a 2/3 majority unless we have warrant articles that are vetted out and the AdCom can say they've done their job. You're not gonna get a 2/3 vote on it. It's gonna be very
Right.
difficult. And on top of it, if we're concerned about the town hall project, we're gonna get the Taj Mahal letters, we're gonna get the editorials.
I'm done
and
with that.
We don't, you're done with it, but the town reads it, and the town, there's no advocacy group for the town hall. They're just It is what it is. You don't have the police, you don't have the schools, you don't have the athletics, you don't have the mom and
We're it.
little
We're
kids
it.
groups. You've got town hall, and we're it. And we're not gonna be able to raise that flag and say, we know better than the AdCom. It's just not gonna happen on a 2/3 vote. And, you know, I heard what Sandra, if this has been going on for 13 years, it's gonna be another year that it's gonna fail. I honestly believe that. You know, I think our best shot is to whittle out the articles that don't make sense, with all due respect to the elected, you know, water and sewer and planning board. If honestly, we need to hear them, then we've got to push the meeting off, and we've got to push the town hall off for a year, because we'll get the funding, but it's not going to be ready to have specs and design plans by May. It's just not possible.
We had this exact article on last year's special town meeting warrant, and there was nothing about October. No one ever said it had to be done in October. And actually, it was on the last two special town meeting warrants, this exact article. Now, they both got taken off at the last minute for various reasons, but no one ever said it had to be done in October.
To be
Had
fair,
we
Larry,
known, had
we
we
spent a
known-
lot of time on that,
we s-
only to have it be pulled.
Exactly, but had we known that this had to be done in October, we probably would have met this summer. But to come to us now and say it's our problem, I just don't think that's very respectful of the board, for one thing. It's just not good plan. I mean, we always get to this point every fall, right? I mean, I've been on the AdCom now, this is my fourth year for this consecutive term, and every fall we have this article. And we always figure out some creative way to kind of mess it up somehow, you know?
All right, let's move on. What do you want to do?
Can I just ask Larry, so if we were to consider doing two special town meetings, one November 18th for the first three articles, and the other December 30th for the other
We
four?
can't do November 18th. We'd have to do if the town hall's gonna go anywhere, we have to stick to that date. Put their main focus on that. That's what I've been told by 10 people in this room tonight, we have to get to that date.
Or, you know, I worked on the Walpole Library. They had a meeting in July and August. Granted, it's not preferred because most people are on vacation, but if we're gonna lose a month, why not have the special town meeting in June, before
You
people
have to
go
do it
away?
before July 4th, yeah.
Yeah.
In June, when people are still
already.
active, they're not away, but you have that special just for the town meeting. That way, it gives the AdCom the ability to go through some of the articles other than town hall in November, have our regular town meeting in May, and then if all goes well for the design development and bidding documents, then we have the special town meeting in June. To have it in November, December.
I'm just gonna bite my tongue tonight, that's all I'm gonna do. Call for a vote on November 18th. Is there a motion for special town meeting on November 18th? Isn't that what you said, James?
Well, and it's gonna be
No.
comprised of what?
Which articles?
He said he could handle them all by November 18th, is what I heard.
Said it's tight, we'll do our best.
All seven?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want a motion?
Bob,
Yeah.
what's your feeling on so if we get them all done on the 18th, and then we come to May, and say town hall gets approved on the 18th, and then we don't have the documents and bidding ready for May, putting it off till June? Have you seen that happen before in
You can have a
Foxborough?
meeting whenever you want to have a meeting, but
But have you seen it happen? I'm just saying,
We
that
did
the
sewer.
anxiety of June.
The sewer proposal was done in June.
Patriot Place, yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a one-article meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or a few?
Pretty close to that.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
This could be similar.
that's,
As long as you get a quorum.
that's how I thought this special was gonna start, and we'd have a second, but that's gone by the wayside now. So we're looking at November 18th, and if you have to meet twice a week, you're gonna have to meet twice a week.
Mark, when we need to meet twice a week, we do. We met every week last week, except for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. That's the
Every
whole,
week,
we met
last-
every single week last
Last
year,
year.
Last
without
year,
a
you said
break.
last week, I was like.
I'm sorry, last year. And sometimes we met twice a week. Plus, we all go to other meetings. I'm here. We had a number of people here. Go to school committee meetings, planning board meetings, water and sewer commission meetings. We're working every night, Mark. So I don't like the implication that somehow we're sitting home watching TV,
I'm trying to bite my
right?
tongue. I'm not
We
saying you sit
can't
at
do
home.
any more
You know
hours,
what?
Mark.
I'm not saying you sit at home watching
No, but
TV.
you're asking us to work more hours. There are no more hours, Mark.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that we're trying to work with you on this, and all I'm hearing from the other side is a nay, nay, nay. That's all I'm hearing. Is it the 18th going to be good for you? You said,
We will do our very
that's
best.
what I said.
Right.
So why are we continuing the conversation?
Because then you said if you have to work more, you will. And I'm telling you, there's no more hours. We will do the very best that we can.
When is a town meeting in May?
14th.
14th. 12th?
Yeah, it's the 12th.
So May 12th is a Monday.
Yes.
Could we put that off a couple weeks, still have it in May?
Well, this whole thing is
That's
going to
what I'm asking.
reorganize the
You would have
board.
to, I mean, it's by law that it's the second Monday.
Okay, so the 12th.
Yeah.
So it gives us 6 months less a week to get, if we have it on November 18th, it'll give us almost exactly 6 months for the town hall. And if we push Bill and his group, it's probably the best that we can do.
Okay.
Now,
You
Sorry.
said you could do it other than Monday night. November the 12th, Tuesday? And that's
It's-
exactly 6 months.
And it just, and again, I'm not pushing you, but it falls down to the AdCom. If they can do it.
Yeah, we lose a Wednesday.
On the
That's when we meet.
12th, that'll give us 6 months. It'll satisfy the town hall issue. Albeit it's tight. It'd be nice if one of the other articles fell to the wayside if it didn't have to happen.
Well, my whole intention was just to have a couple of articles on this, and started with 3,
It kind of
and then
expanded.
it expanded to 14. That's why I'm kind of saying, why not do it the 21st, then have a second town meeting in the late, if you're telling me you can handle all these 7 articles by the 18th.
Said we would try, Mark.
All right, if you're saying you
Do our
can
very
try and
best.
handle all of these by the 17th, right?
Mhm.
If we only take 3 on the 21st, why wouldn't you be able to most likely handle the rest of them by this first week in December?
I'd have to look at the calendar, but you have Thanksgiving in there. We don't meet on Thanksgiving. We might only end up with, what is that, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, you end up with,
First, that's,
Again, we need to finish 2 weeks before the town meeting. Take a week out for Thanksgiving. All of a sudden, you've got nothing.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
so.
Believe me, before Christmas, no one is
We've
going to want to
had-
go to a town
We've had
meeting.
meetings the 27th of December, we've had meetings on the 18th, the 17th, the 15th, the 6th, I can count them on the top of my head, how many Decembers I spent in town meetings. But, days in December. So, my point is, I don't see why we can't just have one now, expedite the process of 3 articles, the top 3 priorities, this is what this was all intended for, not to rush AdCom, not to bog down every department in the town, and then all these others came in because we put it out for request, not expecting so many articles. I don't want to turn down any other board from their articles, but this is something we've kind of been focusing on. Now we're losing to the wayside and lost our focus on what we're supposed to be. So I say have it on the 21st for the 3 articles, and then have a second one. And if it's December or January, does it matter? I mean, I'm not trying to be like
What
the
about-
know-it-all here, but
What about October 28th? That gives one more week to AdCom, and then December 16th.
High school wasn't available on the 20th.
on the
That's the
20th.
other factors we gotta find out when the
right,
school is
right,
available.
right, it's always a problem, yeah.
So they weren't available the 28th.
It was asked for both days, and the 21st was the only day that
Was the 18th of November
That
available?
we haven't asked.
Oh, we haven't asked, okay.
We were trying to
28th
keep it
isn't
within
available.
October
It's
to try to meet
November
the,
4th and
6
December
months for,
16th.
yeah.
November 4th and December 16th. Can
Yeah,
we
so
check?
we can't even, like, we can pick out the 4th, the 18th, or whatever we want here tonight. We need some confirmation of a
Yeah.
school. All right, so we're having a meeting next week on the 10th. Can we find out the availability dates of the school? other than the 21st, and then we can take some action on this.
We're closing the warrant tonight.
No. Well, oh, closing it, yes. Closing it, yes. Not voting on it.
So no more articles can
No more.
No, you have to
articles
put
can
in-
go onto the warrant. but-
Don't you have to put in the
but
transfer
We're
one?
going to vote on those that are gonna go
That's-
forward in the next special.
That would be put in the existing article, that would just be
I'm sorry,
amended.
there's 5 people.
That's
And
what
then go
Larry was
forward with
talking
these
about,
items.
the suggestion.
1 through 5.
Tear that down even
Nope.
further.
No,
Just
that's
looking
what
at
we're
body
doing.
language, and you're pretty adamant you don't want 2 special town meetings before May, right? Is that what I'm seeing?
No, I don't care about that, but, you know, if you're gonna go, make the effort, I can't believe they can't look at 3 articles in a couple weeks period. I just can't believe that. And so we're only talking 7 articles here. We're not talking 22, 23, 30
35.
that we do on a typical annual town meeting. We're talking about 7 articles. I can't believe they can't look at that in a 2-week period. I just can't. You know, the town hall, they've looked at it a billion times
A
already.
lot of new people though, Bob.
I get
A
that.
lot of new people.
I get that.
We know what we're gonna do. We're gonna move it to next week's discussion to finish this discussion. We're moving on, because there's nothing constructive that's gonna happen here anymore tonight. Because, you know, so
Has
we'll,
AdCom lost a week, though?
how's,
So they're meeting on the 11th.
the meeting next week.
We're gonna meet on the 11th.
So we're gonna meet on the 10th.
Larry, could we possibly, if there are some relatively non-controversial articles, could we try to address those on the 11th as well, add that to the agenda?
Well, you have to
Call,
talk to
call
Paul.
Paul. Talk to
Talk to
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, I'm not the chair, so
Okay.
talk to
Yeah.
Paul.
All right, moving on to action. You know how we do that, John?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you.
The first action item is the Board of Selectmen minutes from July 9th and August 24th. And I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from July 9th and August 24th as submitted.
Well, July 9th has to be amended
Oh, it does?
because of the fire chief contract.
Okay.
If you do the math, January 14 to December 17 is a 4-year,
Correct.
3 years.
Okay, so what's
So
that
this
change?
needs to be changed to 16.
Okay. What date is that?
That's the July.
Okay.
This 9th, because these were already previously approved, but Chris Shrewery figured this out, and so
Okay.
that's why I put it back on.
So I'll do them separately. I move that we approve the Selectmen's meeting minutes from July 9th as amended.
And the amendments are in what was handed out?
Well, no, it's that, just that one date needs to be amended for the fire chief. On the last page, we went into executive session, and you guys wanted a 3-year contract.
Yep.
But if you do the dates, because 14 to 17 sounds like 3 years, but it's
It's actually 4
January
years.
to December, so January,
Yeah.
it ends up being 4 years. So
Okay.
it just has to go to December 2016 instead of 17. It's just a math thing.
As long as you're going to amend it, can you make it Mrs. Capola rather than Mr. Capola on page 5?
That's why we look at our own words. 'Cause we-
I mean, it doesn't make any difference, as long
Yes.
as you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Where is that? Okay. I usually put mids,
And-
but.
Ms., whatever.
Jamie, you got more?
Just one quick one on page 3 in the middle, where it says, Mr. Monahan stated that he used a radar gun. I think it's important to say it was a sports radar gun,
Yeah, that's a good.
that it's not a police
Not a
issue.
municipality radar.
I don't know where that traffic stuff's
I
going. so-
borrowed Sergeant Schultz's. So, okay, motion made. Was there a second as amended?
Second?
Second by Lorraine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thanks, John.
Okay, I move that we accept the minutes from August 24th as written and submitted.
Second.
Under comments, where it says, members present, Lorraine, Virginia, and John, it says members excused. We weren't excused, we just weren't present.
Yeah, I just
So-
always,
Put absent.
that's how we always do minutes. If you want to delete it, that's fine. That's how I always do
Want to
it.
change the not present?
Yeah, just excuse means we were.
Yeah, we were
just
told
kind
to
of an
leave.
odd. I haven't seen that terminology in any of our
Not
minutes.
present. Not present.
Weren't
it's fine.
Not
invited.
present, yeah, not present.
Not invited.
And then can you add a line submitted or authored by, as we do
Yeah.
on all the other meeting minutes?
Yep. Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Item number 2, this is, requests have come in for permission to begin serving alcohol at 11 a.m. on Sundays when Patriots home games begin at 1 o'clock. Requests came in from Tastings Wine Bar and Bistro, Bar Louie, Tavolino, Renaissance Hotel and Spa, and Davio's Northern Italian Steakhouse.
What they didn't put in there was on home dates that began at
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
I think this was a template that they all used for the same thing.
That's absolutely the template. So I would make the motion that we approve all those, because you have my action, because I passed for you earlier.
It says Mark right here.
Yeah, so that it's only on home games at 11 o'clock, that start at 1 o'clock.
It says that right there.
Second.
Yeah, but it didn't say that in their request. It says it in ours, but it did not say in their letter of request at all.
Yeah.
In the letter to them, it'll
Okay,
clearly define that.
okay, so.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 5-0. Next, John?
Okay, number 4 is new Hackney license applicants. The applications for Hackney licenses are valid for 2 years, and we received requests from Kingsley, Afosu, and Pofo as a substitute driver for Morris Cab. And number 2, Wadea Musen Al-Saab Biri from On Time Taxi.
So if you remember, the first
That was
one was
left over.
tabled because there was some question whether or not the prior license issue had actually been issued to that gentleman. It had not.
Okay. And I did learn now that they're for a 2-year term. I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
Motion made, second? Your
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Item 5 is a request from Bill Cunningham at the Orpheum Theater, seeking an application for a 1-day beer and wine license on Saturday, September 7th.
Didn't we have another one
It's a standard.
for the license?
Yeah, they're both on there.
There were 2.
I did both, yeah.
Yeah. You did both?
You did both. names
Okay,
at the
well,
same time.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you did both of them at the same time. Because I had a question on the second person's application. It says, do you hold a valid Massachusetts license? And he says, no. Is that
But he put the expiration date as 2015.
exactly?
Just checked off the wrong side.
Did the chief sign off on it?
Yeah.
He did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they did a background check. He's just,
Probably,
and we
yeah,
just have
clerk.
Bob, could you check
I'll
into
just
that, please?
verify
Just
that.
verify license, could pick up Ginny.
Yeah.
But most likely he just misread it. He probably thought, did it ever get taken away, you know? And because I've seen that before. Was it ever,
Yeah.
suspended? And he probably said no. So we'll Bob check into that depending on the vote.
Okay.
All right. And Bill Cunningham, I'll make the motion to give a 1-day beer and license
I'll-
wine.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Last one, John?
This is from the Board of Selectmen. This has to do with town manager incremental pay.
This is the AdCom transfer that Randy was talking about, and that's going to be presented by the board on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Just need your signature as
Okay.
the officer.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town manager incremental pay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And can I just have a question?
Yeah.
I noticed that the shop down at the center of town that used to buy gold is no longer there. Now it's a tax company?
Yeah, but
tax credit?
they don't need a license.
No, but my question is, we did issue a license to the
Scrap
company that did the scrap metal. He's no longer there. Did he have to return that license to the town of Foxborough, or what?
Site-specific, so he loses automatically. If he moved next door, he'd have to apply for a new one.
Okay, but does he return it,
It's just null and void.
paperwork, or
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
make any
don't believe he
It
difference?
just goes null and void right off
Okay.
the bat.
All right,
So, any license like that, site-specific.
okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to go into the executive session.
So moved.
And roll call, James?
I need to read what
for
we're
the
going
purpose.
I read it earlier, but you can read it again.
Motion to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Deputy Police Chief John Chandler. Pending litigation, Wellner Dutton. review of executive session minutes, union negotiation strategies for fire, Boyden Library, and highway and water, to exit from executive session only to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Mark is yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the 10th.
Is the 10th going to be here?
Huh?
10th is going to be.